Hello, good day, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Jurassic Tours. I'm your host, Josie Cat 79, aka Chris, with my usual co-host, Derica, aka Dark Neon.
Well, welcome everyone, and happy 10th anniversary for a very special movie today.
Yes. We are here to talk about the new era of the Jurassic franchise, because before this movie was released about 10 years ago, we only had the Jurassic Park trilogy, where we had a fantastic beginning, a middling middle chapter, and an end that, in many people's eyes, was a little bit underwhelming. But this is the one that helped that franchise roar back from extinction and end up becoming the juggernaut that it is known for being today. I think it's safe to assume that without this movie, we wouldn't be talking about a 7 Jurassic Park being a punchline in a Mel Brooks Spaceballs 2 announcement.
Yeah, that I gotta tell you, I did not have that anywhere in any of my bingo cards.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, I did find it funny that the joke for that was, ever since the 38 years since Spaceballs came out, we've had several Star Wars sequels, prequels, spin-offs, and they started going with 2 Dune movies, 7 Jurassic Park movies, 8 Harry Potter. I mean, it was it's just a crawl that's making fun of everything, and you can't help but laugh because it's true. 36 MCU movies with 2 Robert Downey Jr.'s. It's just, it's laughs. It's laughs.
And Oppenheimer.
By Universal, coincidentally. But yes, let's go ahead and get things underway. Though the happy 10th anniversary. I remember at 10 years. It was the first movie I saw in my local Regal that had just opened up at that point. Now we had a Regal before that was more farther, but they opened up another one that was at a different location that actually had a built-in IMAX screen and everything. And Jurassic World was one of the first movies I saw over there. I saw that movie like 3 times in the theaters, in different theaters. I saw one at my at that Regal. Then I saw one at a Cinemark that's no longer there. And I don't know, it was just awesome thing. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so before we go on further on this tour, we should probably go ahead and have our usual safety guide. Go on, so Derica, take it away.
Thank you. Well, hello everyone. On behalf of Masrani and Inchin, we welcome you all to the new and improved Jurassic Tours. While we are at the peak in New Age theme park efficiency, we continue to strive in the safety and security for your sakes and of our animals. This is a live podcast stream, so mistakes can and will occur, and we will not have a second go. Make sure to keep all your hands, arms, and heads to your person at all times. Be aware that if there's an emergency asset containment breach, we will follow Phase 1 real world protocols. Do not run to the exits, you will be harmed or cause harm to other tourists. No flash photography of any kind, mute cell phones, keep yourselves hydrated, it's still the tropics. Dispose of snacks and trash in proper receptacles, and please keep your hands off of our Raptor Girl mascot. With
Never.
all that out of the way, welcome to Jurassic World.
Very good, very good. All right. So first off on our map, we have the fact that, like I said, Jurassic Park was considered a one and done franchise after the result of Jurassic Park 3, but 3 still didn't make enough money. Maybe, but the reception, of course, was middling, as we talked about. I mean, in recent years, it's now grown a little more fonder, but at the time, people kept thinking when it came to The Lost World and Jurassic Park, some people felt that Jurassic Park 3 was like the worst of the bunch. But hey, when your weakest film is still somewhat entertaining, I consider that a win. It's not like your third film went off the rails and killed 2 characters in the opening and had the last character be depressed for the most of the movie until they dropped himself into a pyrrhic fire, never to be seen again. Hopefully, being at the end of that franchise. But we already talked about that last May.
Yeah, but yeah, but to be fair, this was the 2000s, and the face of cinema was kind of going through. I think I'm just gonna be honest and say it was kind of going through a emo grungy phase where everything had to be dark and serious, and oh, it has to be super duper realistic, and everything has to be tragic and relatable and all that. And it's just, and we're just over here in the corner going, okay, but where's my whimsical dinosaurs?
Well, yeah, because the last dinosaur movie I recall being a major movie that came out, it wasn't primarily a dinosaur movie, was The Sound of Thunder. which is based off a famous Ray Harryhausen novel, where part of that story was, got hunt big game hunters using time travel to go back in time to get the right to hunt the tyrannosaur. It's destined to die, so they won't disrupt the timeline, but they have to always be on a strict path, and going off that path leads to reverberations, butterfly effect and all that stuff. So that I remember being a thing for in the mid 2000s, but hardly anybody saw it and even knew it was a dinosaur movie. It wasn't primarily dinosaur because a lot of T Rex was in it. These strange or evolved creatures that were the result of stepping on a butterfly ended up, popping up and being the threat for our thing, while time waves would be like chipping away at our timeline bit by bit. So, interesting underrated movie, The Sound of Thunder.
And also, technically, we did have a dinosaur mixed in with sci-fi through Disney with the really underrated Meet the Robinsons, which I'm gonna lie, I don't know what the deal was with the marketing for like the late 2000s, early 2010s for animation. It's like the marketing is just like, I don't know, just put up something that's
Throw every
animated,
joke, throw every joke you
over
can.
whatever. Who cares?
It was like throw every joke you can in there, and usually the best jokes. But I mean, I heard it's much more funnier. But the one joke that'll forever be in our head because every ad spammed the hell of it is, "Why haven't you caught them already?" T Rex growling, saying, "I have a big head and little arms." Trying to think this plan wasn't well thought out.
But yeah, sadly enough, there wasn't any Jurassic Park things. To be fair, it was not for lack of trying. There was certainly a lot of ideas thrown back and forth, and for some reason they always keep having to either do militarized dinosaurs or weird dinosaur human hybrids, which eh?
For more information on that detail, we once again direct you to the wonderful Jurassic Park YouTuber Clayton Fioriti. He's done many movie stuff, but he's become primarily my go-to guy when it comes to digging up obscure stuff on Jurassic. There are probably a few other podcasts that are dedicated solely to this. In fact, one I could recommend that is no longer an active service, but was an inspiration for my style, is the Zazubar podcast that used to have people like Dylan McCandless, Andres Perez, who now runs Kaiju Noir. We miss you, Andres. And they used to have random topics, talking about everything on something called the Sons of Sarazawa. And they would talk about, they had one episode that was a funny deep dive about the regular person reacting to what the hell was this Jurassic Park 4 we never got. In the lead up to Jurassic Park, the Jurassic Park movie that ended up coming out to be funny. So that was like 10 years ago in the build up to it. So wow, I'm remembering a podcast from 10 years ago.
Oh, that's kind of sweet. But yeah, there were a lot of pitches thrown. Um, I think some of them did involve like returning characters, but I think at some point they were deciding like, okay, maybe we just need to have like a different footing here. Maybe we just need like fresh new talent
So
to engage with the dinosaurs. Because if you have the same person coming over, they're gonna see the signs that go, no, no, do not take me back to this dinosaur island. For
yeah.
God's sakes, don't do
So
it.
here's a few concepts I'm seeing right now. We have one concept that includes dinosaurs migrating to Costa Rica, which is, again, say it with me, a plot point from the novel. And the experts would have included Dr. Grant and Dr. Malcolm, and a entire expedition to an offshore island to discover dinosaurs were breeding freely. Part of the plot would involve the characters devising a way to restrict the spread of dinosaurs and prevent any ecological disaster. Early concepts also had depicted genetically engineered human dino mercenaries, but William Monahan's draft was finished in 2003. The story was not set in the jungle as in previous films, and he left the project to work on Kingdom of Heaven by Ridley Scott. So John Sayles, who wrote the draft for the script, I feel like I've seen that name before. I think he wrote one of the AVP drafts. He had a character named Nick Harris who would be charged with training a team of genetically modified Deinonychus for use on rescue missions and combat drug dealers. But the concept of a human who trains dinosaur came from Spielberg. And by 2005, the film had been postponed, and Spielberg did not like all the scripts that were coming out. So he's thinking, no, like he think he knew. It was said by Colin Trevorrow. He said that Steven has an instinct for things. When he knows, okay, this is probably going to send the wrong message, he'll tell people no. So he was probably seeing like we're just throwing whatever it sticks. Dino hybrids, trained, raptors, all that kind of Deinonychus, all that kind of stuff. It feels very. I think it was ideas, germs of an idea were there, but not enough thing that would be considered viable to make a Jurassic Park movie hot off the heels of 3.
And it's even sadder is that, like, at one point, like, I think around 2008, maybe, Goldblum and Attenborough were expressing interest to come back, but then Richard Attenborough did have a fall, and it caused him to have to retire from acting, which that's very unfortunate. And around that time, both Stan Winston and Michael Crichton uh,
They passed away.
unceremoniously passed away. They passed away. It's like they're still in their primes, god damn it. But
Yeah, and Winston's contributions, lasting contributions for that year was Terminator Salvation. He even has a cameo as one of the people being rustled into the carrier cages, and he did some design work for Avatar. Like his team did stuff for that. So, cause Jim Cameron, longtime collaborator. So, I think that probably put a pallor over the whole thing to lose two voices who were so involved with the franchise since its inception to just be gone. So I guess maybe it was then that they decided to say, let's go ahead and just let it go for a little bit. Hell, they were getting ready to go ahead and do it with Jake Johnson of Jurassic Park 3 again, but then they were going to develop it further with Spielberg until after they were finishing him doing a little project for a budding galaxy that involved a super soldier in a World War II period piece that probably wouldn't go anywhere, I guess. So,
so yeah, so it seemed like the film wasn't really pushing through. So at least there was at least another push to try to relaunch the franchise through video game games, which yes, it kind of had that way with the Telltale games, doing kind of an interquel game. But there was also that Spielberg wanted to do a sequel to Trespasser, and he actually asked Seamus Blackley to work on a sequel, and you're gonna love this. So Blackley's proposed game was actually titled Jurassic World, and it would involve dinosaurs escaping from Indigenous islands and reaching civilization.
hmm.
So it's kind of funny how like the freaking father of Xbox just predicted the state of the franchise.
But yes, so again, I know people have mixed quality reactions to the Screenwave era of AVGN episodes, but I always laugh my head off when I watch the Trespasser review just because of how ridiculous it is, especially the one with I think Kieran or the big guy was cosplaying as Dennis Nedry, but he decided to use a mace against a Dilophosaur puppet. Which who would have thought the strongest thing against the dinosaurs was a freaking mace that Nedry didn't bring with him on the island.
Yeah,
Anyway,
so obviously the game did end up being canceled, but Spielberg still did like the idea, and Blackley did send a lot of art assets off for to be used later. So, and
it
then
actually
finally, it would be like 2011 where things would actually make some
yeah
headway, which I'm
we
sure Jonesy was about to bring up.
yep, Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver, who had success earlier rebooting Planet of the Apes, bringing the remarkable start to the Caesar trilogy, a movie that nobody saw coming. That they thought another Apes movie, what's it going to be like, and it ended up being a holy moly. Where the script was a kind of like a Crichton-esque, where it would be mixing real world science with out there possibilities, but blending them in a way where you could buy it, saying, okay, maybe a company testing on apes would inevitably lead to a super ape that would eventually start, teaching other apes, and revolution is on front. So yeah, I guess you can see why they were tapped to do a Jurassic movie, given with that pedigree. But they also did some work with, Derek Connolly and another one also did work with Derek Connolly with Cameron's Avatar. They also wrote a little bit to the script, but and we had Kennedy was still on board along with her husband Frank Marshall. And then the Mouse House ended up eating a very huge acquisition, which required Kathleen Kennedy to get a whole new job. We probably know about it. We have to mention it because all we would do was just kick the Hornets. But you know what happened. But Frank Marshall was still on board, and Jurassic Park 4 was already starting to take a full shape, and we had Colin Trevorrow was the lucky director to bring this world to life. Now, Legendary. This was half funded by Legendary, so Legendary has already had success bringing back other dormant franchises. Just the year prior, I mean, down the line, they were developing a movie that was going to be a Godzilla 3D IMAX project, which ended up turning into the start of the legendary Godzilla MonsterVerse with Godzilla 2014, directed by Gareth Edwards, who is going to be directing the upcoming Jurassic World Rebirth. So funny how these things are just so interconnected, man. So we got Colin Trevorrow, who he's only done one film prior to this, Safety Not Guaranteed, and just like Legendary did a year prior with Godzilla, they had a guy who he's done a few short things and he's done one major project, but that project was sharp enough for them to say, get this guy for our project, because they did it with Gareth Edwards after he did Monsters and made him do Godzilla 2014 to a roaring success, which got him the gig for Star Wars. And Trevorrow was, picked up for this after his short film. He even brought in a fellow friend and castmate from that movie to be a cast member in here. And we saw a few behind the scenes. It's not just chock full as like the Jurassic Park stuff. I don't even have a book about it yet, but he saw this from the mind view of a point of view of a child, because child's wonder is like the big thing that gets us interested in dinosaurs. So childlike fear, childlike wonder, like that's what he was going for, filming it from the point of view of a child. Because I remember one thing that they said was their primary driver for this was showing a T Rex roaring in the background of an enclosure, and the child teen on the front is too busy looking at their phone to even take notice of the great wonder that's behind him. Which, kind of a reflection of how some zoos are for some people today these days.
Hmm. So
But like we said, so
that's
they went along making this, and that led us to a release date in 2015, which she will go ahead and explain to us. It ended up being quite an eventful year.
oh yeah, 2015. I'm just gonna like say it with all honesty. That's probably the last good year we've ever had. It mostly in terms of the pop culture, where we had things like Mad Max: Fury Road. We got Creed, which continued the story of uh freaking Rocky, but through the eyes of a new blood relative from one of his old partners. And it's a certain big franchise that gotten quite a big finish for the year. But before that, this 6 months earlier in June, we did have this movie with Jurassic World.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this, but I think people would argue this kicked off the nostalgia trend of where other films have tried this already. We had Scream 4 try to capture 1996 in the bottle a few years prior in 2011. We had Tron Legacy try to revive Tron in 2010. To varying degrees of success, but that year was the year where a lot of the old franchises that people thought were empty out of gas had a few more, chugs in the tank to like really take off. Mad Max Fury Road being a great one, which had the OG R2 George Miller on it. You had, even the Avengers came back to so success with Age of Ultron, but that film has aged better the more farther we get from it. And like you mentioned, Creed, amazing film. A little film called The Force Awakens ended up becoming the biggest, thing ever that year. But before that, we had this one. So here's the big question, though: reboot or requel? To use that word that you kind of cringe at from Scream 5.
Okay, so originally when they were bringing this movie to marketing, they kind of really wanted the audiences to kind of forget about the sequels. This is supposed to be like a return to the nostalgia of the original Jurassic Park, the OG, especially since later in the movie we get to see the remnants of the old park, and it is taking place on the actual island where they were initially going to open the park, but they had a little hiccups along the way. But to be fair, they didn't decanonize Lost World Part 3. They were just kind of putting it down on the down low. But during it in the marketing for Fallen Kingdom, a lot of
Go on.
really fun kind of marketing websites and all that kind of stuff helped kind of bridge the gap of like what happened between the events of the Jurassic Park 3 rescue and the opening of Jurassic World. So it would seem that Jurassic World actually opens up in 2005, mostly because of things like a character we'll talk about later, Hoskins managing to take down the pteranodons that escaped from the island at the end of 3, and would actually encounter the original Rexy. Spoilers again for that big surprise, but I mean, it's a 10-year-old movie. You all should know about this, for goodness sakes. Anyways, so the main thing is to point out is that yes, the island of Isla Sorna was locked down as a
Preserve.
natural preserve to not have anybody coming in to affect the dinosaurs. They and for the most part they've kept to that, aside from probably acquiring some assets to move to the new park. But the Isla Nublar was off the table because a lot of people assumed that the dinosaurs there weren't gaining the certain enzymes that they would survive, which obviously they did, as certain other behind the scenes intercool stuff like the Telltale video game would reveal that yes, they actually did get their enzymes. So it's a big loophole thing, but it's with a lot of good faith and good publicity that Masrani was able to.
I think you're kind of freezing in and out.
We're
So,
excited for.
oh, sorry, you were freezing in and out right there. It was
Oh,
probably a
damn it!
connected issue. It's okay. It's okay. That's chaos. But yeah, like you said though, it's treating it brand new. That if you for some reason somehow never saw Jurassic Park 1 or The Lost World or Jurassic Park 3, but like dinosaurs, you can kind of hop into Jurassic World without needing too much backstory. The lore is very simple in this universe. It's not like say the Clone Wars where you need to know a lot of stuff about that before going into that, and that kind of like, or say something like say Ahsoka where you have to like watch a little bit of Rebels to understand some people's back there. So it's enriching if you have watched those other things prior to this, but it's both because some people were asking if this was going to be like a remake, and they kept saying no, this is actually the fourth follow up, but they confused everybody by not calling it Jurassic Park 4, but Jurassic World. So, but there's a reason for why it's called that.
And to and also I think it's more of like just kind of like okay, let's just not kind of like have too much heavy hand things going on here. Let's just come in. Let's let's just come in and just fresh and just bring in nostalgia in, but tell a new story.
Mm-hmm.
Just give me a second. I'm just gonna hang up on this and then redial you because I think something
Hold on,
is.
give me just a moment to go ahead. And we're experiencing some technical difficulties, but all right, go ahead. Okay, let me get you back in here. All right, back. Okay, hello, hello.
Sorry about that. It was probably the call connection.
Okay,
But so where are we?
we are on the. We talked about the fact that this was either a reboot, like disregarding everything, or a sequel that is a full-blooded sequel or kind of a requel, where that term was popularized in Scream 5, and with the Meeks nieces talking about that.
I would say it's probably not because it's not a lot of legacy characters show up. It's only just one particular one, and it's technically not even a legacy. It's like, oh hey, there's an actor that was in the first movie for like one scene, and then now he's got a bigger role here. But it does. I guess it's more to it was just to make sure you just come in without having all the extra baggage and all that, which is understandable. If this thing turns out it's successful, then they could bring in more lore and all that. Because again, this was supposed to be a new jump start point. This if it succeeded, then they could bring in all the new extra gizmos and who's it's and what's it's and all that good stuff.
So I remember hearing that this was going to happen, And one of the first pictures that was shown out there that I managed to see on social media was of a bloody helmet with a claw mark through it, and or showing the medical van with blood prints, and Colin Trevor talking about how he's excited about they shot that thing. So I'm like, okay, and I totally forgot about it. And then around that Christmas time, I remember Thanksgiving or Christmas, there was that teaser, the famous John Williams Jurassic Park theme played slowly on the piano, showing us different things. They say the park is open, so we'll get to that. But before we should get to there, we should address one elephant that people even noticed in the previews, the big elephant in the room. As we already mentioned before, Stan Winston did unfortunately pass away between movies. And by this point, the way of the animatronic has been seeing more and more of a back or assist used to the now evolved CG. We saw a huge example of this during the 2011 attempt at the prequel to The Thing, where the effects were done marvelously by ADI Studios, proteges of Stan, I might add, that they were always going to be CG enhanced, but the effect was considered by some brain trust in the test screenings to look too 80s, so they ended up completely painting over the CG performance over the practical performance that was done. And there's some amazing video out there. So there was already signs of like practicals, kind of falling to the wayside. I mean, you had movies still holding it up, like Prometheus. There's things you would think are CG. They were actually done practically, like the weird alien wiener snake that breaks a future bad guy from Jurassic World's hand in there. But you already had seen The Hobbit that just come out, and you see the Lord of the Rings having all these practical armors, all these suits and swords and horses, and The Hobbit, while still using some of those tricks, is a little more cleaner because they're using a lot more CG world building than they did prior. Now, that's not to say that CG, doesn't always look great. I mean, you had the Avengers. You even have like Pacific Rim has some of the best rendering CG for a giant mech I've ever seen versus a living creature. So, the tools were evolving, but Jurassic was now in that period where CG is now more prescient than ever, even more so than the third movie. Because remember, when we watched the third movie, we were surprised about how much was still practical at that point.
Exactly. And although they were at least clever enough to know, like, okay, well, we're still not going to have our actors acting against like invisible space, so they have actual stand-ins to have people interact with it, so that they have like eye tracking and all that. And they do also kind of have some semi practical puppets in view, but it's nothing that like a little paint with CGI doesn't fix. There's only one certain scene which happens
That
that involves a brachiosaur, but
Apatosaur.
it's
Sorry.
but one it's or yeah, a passer, but one it's like not the full thing. It's literally just from the neck to the head, and two it's sadly just kind of the one scene.
But that
Although I will argue there's some with the raptors when they're like caged up, but I think that one they were kind of like, okay, we'll just do a little bit limited, but these things are going to be like snarling and breathing and hissing and all that. That'll be CG
because
later.
they did build a practical raptor because there's those screenshots of Chris Pratt's in the woods, doing photo shoots for Empire magazine and stuff, and you have this raptor head and claws, but all they had were claws and heads. I think, and they kept those heads on set for like lighting references at least, so they can know how the skin's gonna look. Because by this point, the CG had evolved. In fact, in the name of concept scenes, we found this out during diving into the deep dive that there was actually a planned scene where they had an animatronic growing T Rex as part of the attraction. Because like Disney would have like something for the people. That's not the real thing, but still see the animatronic performing, and there would have had the escaped genetic hybrid see this thing and then just rip the head off because Colin thought it'd be cool just to see a robot dinosaur fighting a live dinosaur just because he's into that kind of stuff, and Steven wisely told him it might not be a good idea because it could be taken the wrong way. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so you have a park with real dinosaurs, but you have robot dinosaurs too.
Well, the thing is that you have a CGI hybrid creature biting the
Oh,
head.
there's also that.
Yeah,
I was kind of thinking like in universe, mindset
no,
thing,
but
but
that's
out of universe, yeah, that would kind of come off really really
Like Steven,
bad.
Steven knew that wasn't the intent, but he knows people are saying, "Oh, are they making a statement that their CG is superior to the practical?" And that's not the message he wanted, especially with all respect to Stan and everything. So I think that's why Steven wisely told him it would have been a cool visual to see a robot T Rex get its head bitten off, and you see the wires and the sparks and the Dominus spits out the feet. That would have been cool to see, but some people, especially with the way social media is, even back then was still a little rage baity. Not as bad as it got to later, but to find a way of saying, look at these guys poo pooing on the legacy of the works of Stan Winston and all his hard workers are going to have because chances are if they did do that, they either would have to make a whole new puppet or once again use our poor Buck who barely survived its encounter with the Spino and have its head get ripped off by a. And actually, I don't think the actual animatronic would have been torn. I think he could have been roaring, and then they would have had the just like with the CG Spino biting the practical head. But I think we would have been like, oh no, not again if that had happened.
Yeah, and as I was gonna joke, like, but technically we already had that. It was called Jurassic Park 3.
Yes. So anyway, but that's it. But let's go ahead and all that aside, talk about the premise. Like you mentioned, this is the story of a world where, even though we've had horrible incidents with the island park that's been sussed out of people's public view, and we had that big incident in San Diego, uh, you know, I think that there was enough goodwill taken that they were able to try to take a crack at opening the park again. And this time, the park is open. So that's the idea is that for several years running, Jurassic World has successfully ran itself, enjoying, all the awe and wonder and prestige of being the guys that had brought back dinosaurs to extinction. And as the now owner of it, Simon Masrani, says that the Jurassic World exists to remind people how small they are in the grand scheme of things. It's a bit of a humbling thing. So he's not like Ludlow, who's saying, we're going to milk these guys for everything they got. It is a lucrative position because they do get a lot of money from the tours and everything like that. But that's not the silver. It's basically in line with Hammond's vision when he told Gennaro, this place was not just meant for the super rich. This is like for everybody in the world to get to enjoy these creatures. So you could argue that, and it is mentioned in the universe that this was John Hammond's dying wish to make Jurassic World work, the way he wanted it. And if you notice, there's some corrections from what made Jurassic Park fall apart. Different security systems, even more staff instead of trying to run it on 3 and not running entirely on automation. So, yeah, the idea is what would a successful park look like? And some would even argue that is a fun idea and that your mileage may vary if the movie successfully explored that concept well or not, which I think we will agree we're mostly in the camp that it did.
We understand there's a lot of people that would really wish that they kind of made at least like let's just have like a full movie where the park is functioning, like maybe have between this and part 3 where we had to see the park actually getting the chance to open, maybe even like a prequel of some sorts through a comic means or like a short film or something. The point is, it's you kind of basically get a good gist of how it is, especially since the movie does wisely have a good idea to have allows you to kind of fill in the gaps of how grand this theme park is. Is that they don't just tell you it's like, oh, it's been working, it's all grand. It's like they at least allow you to show you how it works. Like they show you, like they feed the mosasaurs just like how they do at SeaWorld with like a big display show and everything. They have petting zoos for like little baby dinosaurs interacting with safety for both the children and the dinos themselves. They wisely have a good field vision and timing of having the T-Rex have a feeding session instead of just assuming that, oh, the T-Rex will always be active as you drive by through with the torch jeep,
And
which that was kind of dumb, honestly.
well, yeah, and then one of my favorite things I wish this attraction is only a passing by thing, but I really wish it was a real thing. You get to go on a raft lagoon ride with the Stegosauruses and Apatosauruses in the water.
Yeah, there's that. There's also uh the gyrospheres, which that it's I want to know who it was that came up with that idea because they must have gotten like big hot Christmas bonus to have a way to allow animals to have like a wild safari enclosure, but allow the humans to be able to go up to them safely without like harming them or spooking them in any way with large, loud machines and all that.
But yeah, they jokingly call it the giant hamster ball. But yeah, so the story of this is that even though all this stuff is going well like clockwork and people are enjoying it, the animals are mostly fine. Focus groups, those lovable words, are saying that interest is starting to wane. And I think every time we hear this, Erica and I, and anybody else who wants the movie goes like, in what world are you finding dinosaurs so passe? Like it's dinosaurs. Even the character Owen says they're dinosaurs. Wow, enough. So, but this is playing into corporations and capitalism about how, they don't go for anything logical. They go for what's bringing in the bucks, and what do these groups say that's going to bring us even more money. So, if even if it's detrimental, and in this case, they're coming up with the idea of genetically altered hybrid dinosaurs to make whole new dinosaurs to drive up revenue for new attractions.
But I'm sure that's not gonna go wrong in any fashion whatsoever.
But yeah,
It's like bring back extinct dinosaurs. That's like it's nothing. Our scientists in real life are doing that, but yeah, playing God and creating a whole new, entirely different dinosaur, like why not? God did it with the platypus. It should be like easy hat for us.
a platypus? Bury the platypus. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. When you said a platypus, I couldn't resist. But yes, so
Okay.
anyway, yeah, so that's the idea. The park is open, and even in the advertising, it kept showing how you guys went along and just made a whole new dinosaur, because that was Trevorrow saying that he wanted to go back to Ian's whole spiel about, I'll tell you what's wrong with this power you obtain, you're wielding. It didn't take any discipline to obtain it. You didn't learn a lot for yourself, and you took the next step, so you have no responsibility for it. That whole deal of, basically it is that rant. Before you even knew what you had, you patented it, you packaged it, you slapped it in a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You want to sell it. sorry, I have to bang the table for emphasis, but that's basically what Trevorrow's movie's saying. He's saying that, the park is wonderful, this magic and awe, Maserati is right, but at the same time, corporate greed is making them test out militarized dinosaurs, making them make these hybrids that have no right to exist. A real Frankenstein. Hell, one of the best scenes, we'll get to it when we talk to Dr. Wu, is an argument about making monsters and how they sentient. All we've been doing is what we've been doing since day one, and that is like one of the best scenes. I think I mentioned it before in our Jurassic retrospective, just how that scene is the Jurassic Park book distilled into a single conversation, if you ask me.
Hmm.
But anyway.
And plus, I'd argue that they really shouldn't be investing in creating new dinosaurs. I think, like at the same time, a spin-off cartoon was happening. Well, not as the movie was coming out, but it came out a little bit later. But they were essentially going to open up a Camp Cretaceous experience to have certain individuals come up and be able to live on the island rather instead of the resort way, kind of more like boots to the ground, kind of just like going camping with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Summer
Summer
that was
camp.
the whole intent.
Summer camp with dinosaurs. Yep.
Which, to be fair, I think that alone should have been able to like keep the park going for a few more years until they could come up with like I don't know, making a roller coaster involving velociraptors be a thing. Oh wait, no, that's a I'm talking about a Universal Park
But
thing.
this is
That's its own thing.
but this is the big thing, is the thought of like we still have elephants and lions in zoos despite them being around for hundreds of years, forever, and that thing. We didn't have to go and make a whole liger or elephant, mammoth, just to drive up revenues. So, but like it says,
That's true, but the thing they're facing is that they have to be able to feed these animals. They have to be able to like do maintenance, cleaning, not just for the people, but for also the live animals. And they also have to handle capacity for an island instead of like Disney can handle it. They were able to like have their own like underground system where the workers can go in and out and trash can be dispensed and all that. I really don't think they have that kind of system in place with Jurassic World because I think they're still doing their geothermal powering, so they can't really hollow out the island because that would really cause problems. Oh, maybe that may be a little spoiler for the next movie, but regardless, there's a lot, a lot of spending done with keeping the park going. That's kind of uh, meshing against people coming to the park. To be fair, I'm assuming the money coming to the park is good. It's just that the budgeting and like keeping maintenance for the technology and adding more dinosaurs and new enclosures to build, and dealing with Owen's raptors needing constant surveillance and all that. Costs keep going up. I hate to bring up the word, but inflation is happening
Yeah.
in the world of Jurassic World.
And what's funny is Claire, the character, keeps on trying to bring that up to Masrani, who's more about the no, 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 no. I'm not thinking about cost. I'm talking about the animals and the people. Also, aside, I just saw this hilarious meme. Uh, I'll send it to you in Discord itself, but it's so funny. It says Sawgura passes you the Rido. Do you accept? Andor memes. Huff,
Thank you.
huff the gas, huff it. God, there is a great 10-minute band video with Saw Gerrera's hologram that made me laugh so hard. I got off topic, but directed by Gareth Edwards, who's doing Jurassic World Rebirth, so it's not too off topic. But yeah, in fact, if you want to know the cost and balancing entertainment and the animals' well-being and development, asset development, just play Jurassic World Evolution. It'll tell you everything you know why. Yeah, running this park. If you're not into park sims, I get, but it really is fun. I just bear with it because I like dinosaurs.
I'll eventually look into it if my budget allows me eventually, but it's still going. I'm getting better.
It's on
thankfully.
It's on the Switch.
No. Nick says like, Switch is no go. It's like to put put the game in handheld mode. I can't see if you're in handheld mode.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah. So since we mentioned them by name, we should probably go ahead and introduce our cast of human characters. So, what's funny is this is a guy who you wouldn't expect to be in a movie like this, but he fits the part so well you can't imagine anybody else doing it. And coincidentally, as he jokes, he willed this role into existence due to a joke he would make back on Parks and Rec. That would be comedian turned action star Chris Pratt from The Office. Andy from The Office. In fact,
Yes, it's Chris Pratt as Owen Grady,
yeah,
who is the island's former Navy. He was former Navy. Not I was about to say Navy SEAL. I don't think he was that intense, but he was had prior military training, and now he's assigned to train raptors. What? So yeah, it seems like one of the original pitches did end up coming into the final product after all. So all the time you were kind of scoffing and huffing all of that. But to be fair, there's a little bit more context to this. It's not just like one. Oh, it's so easy. Like here's how you like handle these dinosaurs. It's like no, it's as Owen puts it, it's about mutual respect.
yeah, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and put this on the screen, this funny ass GIF that we all know. Before he did Jurassic Park, before he even did a little Marvel movie that got him even bigger, he was known for this. You might have seen this GIF in like Discord chats and all the like back then. Let me see, window capture real quick. This will not mess us up. Don't worry.
You gonna show the bug-eyed look?
Yeah, you know it. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna move it up here and. Oops. No, do you go down there? Oops, that's not the right window. That's this. Here it is. There it is. There's the meme. That's Chris Pratt right there. Where he's like, oh, with a big smile face on that beard, and then you're like, look at this goofball. This is the guy who's gonna train raptors. Well, I guess given his charm, he could probably just charm the stripes off of the raptors. Something that Ian never tried to do. Ian just kept trying to run and not get tackled and head bumped. Yeah, but like if you look on the screen right now, yeah, you can see Chris Pratt's little oh. But the joke was he would do these little home camera video things and joke about how he's getting a phone call from Steven Spielberg. He wants to talk to me about Jurassic Park 4. And eventually, well, he got the call that, yay, we're really talking to you about doing a fourth Jurassic. Would you want to be on it? And he's just thinking, really? Well, I bet he probably made that face he made in the meme.
It's serendipitous almost, but to be fair, I think like he was kind of work. Let's not beat around the bush. The guy is like really really gets into the role when he has to work out. It's not an uncommon thing for actors to work out for a role, but to see Chris Pratt go from that bod to oh my god, I'm just thinking of the Guardians of the Galaxy where he has to get
Shower.
stripped down for prison showers, and good golly molly,
Yeah, and
and he keeps that physique for the Jurassic World movie, which that's nice. At least it doesn't have to coincide with a mustache.
yeah, and he like he said this. He said that the Steven Spielberg joke that we actually casted him before Guardians came out, but after Guardians came out, we looked smart for casting him. That's what Colin Trevorrow said. He said that it made us look smart. Like, oh, we knew he was gonna be a star. Like, they knew Marvel was gonna be big, but Guardians took off at a rocket. That Chris Pratt became on everybody's wish list back then. Imagine that. Because the joke is now that if you want to make a joke about people being voiced by anybody, the joke is just show that gray black and white picture of Chris Pratt because he ended up playing an Italian plumber from Brooklyn that nobody saw coming.
It's to be fair, I actually was 100% going like, you know what? Why not? I can totally see him having a ball to just play a role, and to his credit, he didn't have to. He wasn't. He felt he didn't need to restrain himself to acting like the video game Mario. He took notes from it, but he's like, no, I'm gonna do this as my own thing. Which, to be fair, it worked out considering most of the cast and crew did their own way of handling the Super Mario movie. And it worked. I mean,
Yeah.
it made freaking $1 billion. So apparently they made the right call.
Also, Charlie Day as Luigi is perfect casting. It just works. You just got Luigi. Okay, but back to Chris Pratt. Like I says, he drew himself into the role, and he says he's such a goofball naturally that with rewatching the movie, I forgot how serious Owen gets once the shit hits the fan in this movie, because and I realized that Chris Pratt said between takes he would have to do something stupid to get out of the system, just so he can go ahead and keep that serious stature ready between takes, and he works. Because
To the point where when this movie and a little bit of Guardians came out, a lot of people did kind of throw out the idea of like, if they want to do a movie with the younger Indiana Jones, he would definitely be a good fill-in to do that. And I can kind of see that.
Because remember, before Harrison has been known as the only grumpy guy now, he had a wide range of emotions from being the stoic tough guy to being the charming romantic with Solo and Indy, but also the rough and tumble guy. He can be... Because there's points where the joke stops at Harrison's characters and he just goes in all business. And then you can see times where he's very human and relaxing and you're going like, oh yeah, that's very funny to see him like that. So... I mean, come on, look at that scene in Raiders after he thinks he's lost Mary and he's drunken himself into a stupor and he's ready to go ahead and take out Ivan Ooze with his handgun. He says, let's go meet God together. You're going like, okay, that is a guy with nothing to lose. So Chris Pratt could probably pull off something similar without being an imitation of that. And his Owen character, he has some sass. Like, he makes fun of stuff with his rappers. Like, don't give me that shit, man. I see you. Like, that kind of stuff. But he'll also, like... I mean... There was a scene that got viral for stupid reasons back then when Josh Whedon talked about the sexism of the chat. It was a small 30-second clip that came out of Bryce Dallas Howard talking with Chris Pratt, and he makes you think, you want to finish it out here or talk in my bungalow? He says to just really just kind of be funny, and I remember everybody jumped on Josh saying, "Are you not the guy that wrote in that same year earlier in May?" that the Hulk and Black Widow consider yourselves monsters for different reasons, and one of those reasons is because people got the stupid wrong idea that her saying that I can't bear children because I've been sterilized makes me a monster too. When I say, no, her willing to go that far and kill so many people to make her a monster, that's what she's trying to say, but you guys are just getting it wrong. But anyway, point is, Joss Whedon opened up a a hornet's nest with that one for himself, and this was before his eventual like actions behind the scenes ended up catching up to him. Such a shame too, but I remember that. But people were talking about Chris Pratt saying that this was like, but it was going for that old '80s '90s vibe. That's what Trevorrow was going for, and Pratt captures that. Where the same thing kind of happened with Ian. I'm pretty sure if that was done, people would have been saying like, "Oh, why is he hitting so hard on Laura Dern?" But no, I thought that Chris Pratt did it in a tasteful way. But once, like I said, once it got serious, he was able to like keep that demeanor of like this is not a joking matter, but he'll still crack up a few things. Like there's a great scene in the middle where he's taunting Claire for going into the woods, saying you're not gonna go out like that, and she does this "I'm getting ready" look, where even he's like looking all like what's this supposed to mean? It's such a great moment. So. He has a lot of natural moments, and it came to the point where whenever we see Chris Pratt in a movie, me and my sister don't call him Chris Pratt. We don't even call him Star Lord. We say, "Hey, look, there's Owen." That's how ingrained with the character he is in my mind that I will associate him forever with Owen Grady.
I, it's either that or Star Lord for me. But
Or Emmett if you're a
yeah,
Lego fan.
oh yeah, he was in that movie too. Wait, I know you kind of joked, but he was kind of Sarah. To be fair, not as everywhere as either Rock or Jack Black, but anyways, so Owen kind of has a little bit of shades of Sam Neill, where he like respects and treats dinosaurs almost as like living, breathing animals. Whether he's tending with his raptors or uh, help comforting a dying dinosaur laying on the fields from their wounds. Like he understands that these aren't like products or assets. These are living, breathing animals that needs to like they're alive just through the sheer serendipity in science. It's like that you already did that big wow factor. Now let just enjoy that these things are alive, breathing, and like have been doing well for 10 years without any huge incident happening. And when things get serious, he will like flat out say like, okay, now there's no going back to this. You have to get the island evacuated, clear the people out, so that we can handle this rogue dinosaur with live ammunition.
So yeah.
So like he's empathetic and understanding, but when things get dangerous and deadly, he's gonna throw down and say like, okay, I'm not like dilly dallying around with this. This shit needs to get done.
Hmm. And he does get to have some cool moments. Like one of the biggest cool things is this has became one of the most defining. It was on the poster. Is he gets to ride on a motorcycle following velociraptors. And
Let's see, it's like, come on, like why else do you think I drew myself doing that? It's like
it's
motorcycles are fun.
yeah, and it's so funny because a reviewer said that you can kind of see it on Chris Pratt's face as he's driving when he's looking at left at his Raptors and he does his smile. It's like he is acknowledging that both this is the most absurd thing I'm doing right now, but also it's hella cool. And Owen rides that, so that's what makes it such a great moment. So, but like I said, you wouldn't expect Chris Pratt to be an action star that carries, but then Guardians proved he could do that, and people might think he's just playing Star Lord again as Owen, but I think he did it well enough that it worked well within the universe. And also, he's really good at imagination, so he had to make jokes about how we had to like imagine stuff with our eyes. Like, okay, it's right next to me. Okay, I got like he has some tense scenes. Like, there's a great tense scene that involves him being under a truck, and there's a giant snarling carnivore like inches from his face, and he has to think fast. So you see the smarts on him, and again, he's really good at selling it. He's thinking like, I better not so much as far, otherwise this thing's gonna tip the truck over and rip me to shreds.
Yeah, yeah, I can't say anything else that that doesn't revolve around us kind of circling around the same point. This Chris Pratt is great. He's like it, it was by a miracle that they had the prior Guardians movie showcase like, okay, yeah, I can totally buy that this guy is gonna be able to do it. So I'm gonna go to I love doing Star Lord. I'm gonna see him in this.
And
But seriously, I did not call him actually joking that he was gonna be in Jurassic Park for years before it is actually be real things. Like
I would argue this made him a bigger movie star than say even Guardians. Guardians was good for him, but I think this helped him springboard even higher because he was in one of the top grossing movies for that summer.
Yeah, yeah. But it's not just him that's being the headliner here. We also have another one, which I'm sure Bro here would be more than happy to gush about just for about 30 minutes straight, I'm sure. So get yourself buckled in as we talk about Claire Deering, portrayed by our great Star Wars alumni these days, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Ah, yes, Gwen Stacy from Spider-Man 3 really leveled up. I mean, she did a lot of great movies since then. Like, she was in Lady in the Water, which wasn't so great, but she was a highlight in it. And she was also in The Help, really good movie. But she shows up here.
Terminator Salvation.
Yeah, yes, she was Kate in that one. Yeah.
I, I only remember it because that was one of the things that our big gruff and haphazard angry boy Christian Bale says, like, you're walking behind Bryce in the middle of the fucking scene.
Oh yes, during the famous "Oh, good for you" rant. So yeah, like I said, she has gotten a lot more acting chops in her, and here she is in a Jurassic Park movie where she has to play the park executive that's currently helping usher in, the new asset, but also being saddled with taking care of her nephews from her sister. And we'll get to them later. And she's running so many things with a controlling mindset of everything has to be pre-planned and this. And she's very, very uptight. Or even her boss has to say, "Come on, take a break. Get some sun." That kind of stuff. Like she's because she was.
Ellen literally joked. Ellen literally joked, like, "Who brings an itinerary to their own date?"
And she says she's an organized person. So the idea is that she's talking about control, and the lesson of the movie, her arc, is what Maserani is saying, is that the way you can enjoy life is to realize you're not entirely in control of it. Because there's a lot of talk about control. You control the raptors, you control this. There's a part where they're going to walk into an ambush with the dinosaur, and Owen's trying to say up front, like, these guys are going to die if you don't get them out of there. And she says, at all fears, you're not in control here. Like, she's trying to keep a handle on things. And what's funny is that character could have easily been turned into an almost villainous character. Well, we have a villain in this movie, but it's not her. But like I said, you could have had her really be, someone that the audience is saying, "Man, I hope she gets scooped up by a pteranodon or something." But Bryce is able to bring her down to earth on the level. You see, she's trying. Claire is trying with everything she's got, because I'm pretty sure she busted herself to get up to a position in Maserati where she's able to head taking care of an entire park. I mean, it must be a very prestigious career option for her. And she's the one that signed off on the creations of new assets and stuff. So, in a way, she's kind of what helps make Jurassic World run, in addition to the staff and everything.
So, funny thing, I decided to kind of like look up some behind the scenes, mostly because I was curious about the Raptors. But apparently, it turns out Claire, when during her days as an intern for Jurassic World, she managed to actually shoot down a rogue Velociraptor.
Oh shit!
Like, no joke. That it literally happened. That's literally how she got the job. So her moment of her shooting down that winged beast in the movie wasn't out of character. In fact, it seemed more of like, oh, this is like old hat for her. This isn't the first time she shot down a dinosaur.
But yes, but like everyone kept saying that these things might be just numbers on a spreadsheet to you, but they actually have, you know, instincts and things to relate and all that kind of stuff. And she brings on Owen as an advisor since he's so good with the Raptors to try to help talk about their new asset. And even he's telling her 100 times %, yeah, this is a bad idea. What's funny is the
Like he literally lists all the ways that they screwed up. First of all, they raised him by himself, which, to be fair, they originally did have two of this asset, but it kind of ate its sibling.
and
I
then
guess it was kind of like understanding the whole like hierarchy, circle of life kind of thing.
mm-hmm.
Then two, it keeps feeding it impersonally through a crane system. Which, where was the last time you saw people doing that? Oh yeah, it's the original Jurassic Park where they were feeding the Velociraptors.
At least they got a live steer. I would like to imagine they originally were giving it live animals, but they probably couldn't stand the screams, so they probably thought just give it a carcass.
and they probably have the funds to handle that. So,
But yeah, so
and then not only that, but they also don't have the means to keep good track of it.
in
Like
fact,
there's
you
a
could.
lot of flora fauna like masking everything. Which why do people keep doing that?
It's
It was even in the original, most of the original park, really.
well, to be honest, I think that was just to make the animal feel comfortable. Plus, it is kind of cool where you think I don't see nothing, and then all of a sudden the trees go apart and you see this crazy, scary new thing. Something that Masrani described would even give the parents nightmares. So like that's great. So what's great is that when you think about it, the whole incident starts because of Claire trying to regain control. And to paraphrase the Princess of Alderaan, the more you try to tighten your grip, the more things will just slip through your fingers. So that's kind of happened here and led to the whole incident. But she was able to atone for it when she realizes what does matter in life. Because there's scenes where she's looking longingly at like families being reunited during the evacuations and stuff. She's thinking, I gotta go see my nephews because there's a joke that she's a little impersonal because of all the stuff she's running. That she mentions, I saw one who was high school age and the other one is like this tall. Even Owen's like, wait, you don't even know the the age of your nephews?
And it's I think even when Owen stated that, she just like pretty much had like a stone cold reaction, like, "Oh my god!"
Because there's a great moment where she's talking with her sister on the phone, who's saying how she's kind of upset that she got had to push them off to the nanny because this was to be a great family moment due to the turmoil they're going through right now, and Claire is like even recognizes like, oh, you're using
You see mom's phrases.
he says trying today is worth more than a promise tomorrow, and like it's great. By Judy Greer, she's not even gonna show up in this thing, so I'll just go ahead and bring her up just because, you know, she's a great mom in everything I've seen her in. Like every time I see Judy Greer as a mom, I go, oh, she's gonna be good in this. Although, if ever people gave her flack for the trailer teaser where she makes a joke of if anything's chasing after you, just run. Like, are they actively sending their kids to be eaten and knowing it? That was kind of the joke. But yeah, like I said though, she does go through an arc where she does learn to soften up, loosen up a little. I mean, she kind of has to with some of the stuff that goes through. In fact, there's even a humorous deleted scene where, I forgot the exact reason why, but she ends up like smearing herself in dino dung to try to make herself unappetizing to something, and even Owen kind of jokes about it.
Actually, did so. The idea is that look, you're. I know you're not. You're gonna be found smelling vanilla like the entire time. Dinosaurs are gonna notice that smell, so you kind of have to blend in.
Yeah. So, like I said, the Bryce just jumps into it, and like I said, she has the cutest haircut and the craziest blue eyes I've ever seen. Redheads, gotta love them. And that outfit, just I mean that would become a point of contention for some people, or people who love this movie would always even joke about this. That there's even in the trailer, there's a famous shot of like heels running while there's these big cloth feet behind her. People are saying so she ran the entire movie in jungle in those heels. In fact, even Owen makes a crack at her, saying how you're not with those, you're not gonna get far with those, and she decides to give him a look of like, oh yeah, watch me, basically.
And it's personally as a budding girl myself, I honestly applaud her for doing that. For one thing, so I haven't actually done like stiletto type heels. I've kind of mostly had like thick kind of boots heels, but I never tripped on them.
Well, I remember they even had
But
an athletic lady try running in those similar type of heels, and they admitted saying, "Yep, it's a movie because it is more difficult than it looks."
but to be fair, I don't think she was running the whole time. She was just kind of keeping most of the pace. The only running she did was away from the T-Rex, which to be fair, I think she would have enough foresight to be able to run on like smooth cement ground instead of like rugged terrain and all that.
I remember reading
But
back then. Oh, go on.
I was gonna say I applaud her doing that, and for the movie just decided like, okay, yeah, she was in heels the whole time. Basically, because Owen did make that crack at her, and I think at a point she just said like, "Oh, okay, you know what? I'm so sick and tired of you talking me down and telling me that I can't handle this. Like, you know what? What have you done? I managed to shoot down a freaking velociraptor while I was an intern. God damn it! So you know what? I'm gonna literally go through this entire adventure in these heels out of spite." motherfucker.
You can kind of tell when that because that's when she like undoes her top and ties it around her waist and runs up her her sleeves, like saying she's ready to get down. This was just a walk and stroll in the woods 65 million years ago. Now, I did hear some people back then feeling that maybe she should have had some comeuppance for her role in all of this. That she probably should have gotten like snapped up at some point near the climax. And if we did that, we would have been robbed of a great character who develops even more during the series. So I don't know. Can you kind of see why some people had that gripe way back when? Like maybe they should have had Claire be chomped up.
I would assume these would be the same type of people that wanted to see freaking Richard Attenborough eaten, because, I mean, for one thing, he literally just puts his own grandchildren out to field test dinosaurs, even though they never actually even field tested their tour.
That's true. In the book, he does get that come up, and so yeah. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I think she works well enough in the role, and then she does have a great.
And also,
Hmm.
and also, I argue, like, in the same vein, it's like, well, maybe Sam Neill should have also got eaten, because the dude was a complete dick to the kids.
Well, we'll talk about dessert getting in and not in just a second with the character down the line. So anyway, speaking of guys that are of unsavory characters that probably had it coming, let's go ahead and bring up Edgar the Bug. I mean, a Private Pile. I mean, Wilson Fisk. The Vincent.
Vincent D'Onofrio. We're not talking about Hoskins, that son of a bitch.
Yes, which even Claire calls him that. And
And Owen.
yeah, and what's funny is he okay, we've had villains that were like a little bit out there, like Nedry, Dodson to some extent, even Ludlow. But this guy, even the characters in universe say, "Do you have any idea how crazy you sound?"
It's I don't even know what to. So okay, so this guy is kind of pompous and all that, since he was kind of he's probably still riding the high of having be a big success. Is like, oh, I was managed to help like keep pteranodons from reaching the mainland and all that, and
And he sees the and he's
wrangling an original dinosaur to captivity.
but he keeps on saying
And
how he's the guy pushing for the Raptor program even harder, to the point where even Owen's saying, "Yeah, these guys are good, but you wouldn't want them going after you." And he keeps saying, "Oh no, 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 we'll go ahead and teach them this. We'll eliminate Roe." And he's just talking more about
we'll eliminate them only for royal bloodlines,
like,
loyals.
I'm like
And
Barry's.
even me and Josie just kind of like rolled our heads back and laughed at that. It's like, oh my god, you would probably end up being a cabinet at some deranged lunatic's.
Cabinet, yeah. You'd be a member on
Yeah.
the cabinet, yeah. But oh my gosh, it's so funny because he is just going on and on and on about stuff like how war breeds greatness. We're war dogs, you know. We end up wasting all this time for a petting zoo, but when because he works with the engine division, and I think he gets a personal cut of selling these field tested assets. You know, probably get some money on the side. And he is, you know, kind of has. There's moments where he'll just be like a pain in the ass to everybody. There's a part where he's going to the control room watching the raptor hunt, and he's like takes the soda. You can tell even Lowry's looking at them like, dude, who let you in here, basically. And there's this scene
Well,
that
he has a pass, so it's nothing that poor security guard can't do. Seriously, like,
that
Matt, I hope that guard actually gets the Christmas bonus for the amount of bullshit he had to go through.
but yeah, like Hoskins is like it says, he is just unabashedly, you know, we're going to go ahead and militarize these guys, where everyone keeps telling him how stupid that sounds, to the point where even the dinosaurs are fed up with this shit, because there's probably who's about to go into his monologue about wars and 65 million of evolution brought this to us, but the raptor even hopped in and interrupted the speech, like, enough of your stupid speechifying.
And he also kind of the dude loves to bring up like stories to kind of like get you to relate to him. Only to I remember hearing him tell about the story about how he managed to help nurse a wounded wolf
Wolf pup, yeah.
to a wolf pup, and then one day his wife was coming in with a knife, but then the wolf managed to fight and scare her off, so that he managed to stay safe. And I remember saying like, okay, so quick question, why was the wife coming at you with a knife? did you instigate the whole thing?
Or was she just crazy?
Given the attitude, given the attitude you were giving off, I wouldn't blame her.
And on top of that, even Barry says, "Did you end up putting the wolf down for attacking her?" He's like, "Hell no, I kept it." See, that's like you and your raptor friend. He's deciding how. No, it's not the same because Dave's part when he says, "We're in charge, we'll do this," and even Barry tells them, what do you think will happen when they decide they're in charge? Because he's like kind of like Muldoon, a bit of an alarmist, knowing how smart these guys are. And Hoskins is just he's like the paleontologist who keeps screwing up his theories in the Lost World mixed with Dieter Stark and. Oh, speaking of which, if I had a nickel for every time a Full Metal Jacket actor appeared as a villain in a Jurassic Park movie, I'd only have 2 nickels.
Anyways,
But
so
yeah, but you love to watch him just go nuts and just talk about how this is wars of survival. We're going to use these dinosaurs to survive. And there's a part when he mentions how Maserati had died, and he says he's has an attitude of like, oh no. Well, anyway, basically.
I have to wonder if like half the time when they're writing his dialogue, they're intentionally putting in things that feels like little cliff notes every time they got pitches for movies. Like militarized dinosaurs. Like okay, but why though?
And then there's a great line when he's talking about how war is a struggle beats greatness, and even Owen's talking. Either this happens with or without you, and Owen's all, do you even hear yourself when you talk? I'm going like, yeah, I'm thinking the same thing listening to him. And so if you want to talk about badly written humans, I think you could argue Hoskins is a contender, but he's made to be the guy you hope has it coming, and when he gets it good. Like he doesn't go out quietly, he doesn't go out peacefully with the single chomp. No, no, he gets his throat ripped out by a very angry raptor that he keeps misgendering, as I keep joking. He keeps, hello boy, easy boy, keeps saying to the female raptor.
Good old Delta.
Yeah. So, but like I said, we keep making jokes that he had just done Daredevil, I think, too. So, I think he even said, "What the hell are you doing out of Hell's Kitchen?" And as if you saw Daredevil,
We really got to go back and catch up on it if we want to see Born Again.
yeah, last time I checked,
Yes, I know, audience. We still haven't seen Born Again. Don't add us for
yeah,
that.
but I still
I
remember
don't think.
the last thing I saw of him because she remembered the scene from her Netflix viewing day saying, "Oh, this part's coming up," and I made a joke saying I kept making jokes about how we have a solution to your raptor problem. See, you take a car door and you just in and out, in and out, in and out. But yeah,
Ian feeling enjoyed. Hi, Ian. App description.
yeah. So, but yeah, so what we have going on here is okay. So he is a great bad guy, just so you can see it coming, and we have a secondary antagonist, so to speak. We have BD Wong.
Kind of. Yeah, kind of, sort of. No, not really. No.
But we got BD Wong returning as Doctor Wu. If you remember, he's only seen in one scene, and he has so much arrogance in that single scene that was like it was like a passive aggressiveness of like, oh yeah, so you really think female animals all breed? He's like discounting Ian totally. Wu is a little more like that in the book, and as you know, he meets a very unfortunate end at the hands of these raptors in the book. When we heard he was coming back, me and Ian I had just met at the I kept joking about how you think who's gonna buy it like in the book?
Oh, no, he doesn't.
But yeah. But cuz
It's kind of funny. It's like they just managed to get a one-off kind of character and kind of give him a little bit more bigger role, more involved role in the process to where it almost feels like they're kind of setting him up as like this overarching uh antagonist. Look, clearly not, because even in the movie as we're watching, he still has a boss that he reports to. So
yeah, there's a great moment where again that scene where Simon Rossarani confronts him over what happened with the Indominus. Like, why did you give me an animal that would camouflage? And he goes, oh yeah, we gave it cuttlefish to help adapt to tropical, no, to help stabilize its accelerated growth rate. And then you told me it hides from heat sensors. Oh, it did that. And he goes, well, that comes from the tree frogs. Like he's just he's more interested because there's a great moment that it tells you all about his character when he mentions people have already been killed by this thing, and he goes, yeah, that's unfortunate, but like Kind of like you going like, "Oh, you left. I left your coffee order behind." Like that same type of attitude when hearing that people died.
It, which so it did kind of like leave when we initially watched it. We did kind of see the like oh, so this is where like the where our villainous role could actually be. It's to be fair, we actually saw potential there. We saw someone that actually had achieved the impossible to bring dinosaurs back from existence, and then now he takes another step further and is now creating new life. And of course, he'd probably be a little bit obsessed to the point where, as Josie described, is every time Maserati points out like it does this, does that, he's kind of like, oh, that's interesting. It's like it was able to do that as a natural talent. That's I'll put that on the list here.
And he even points out how you can't have exaggerated predatory, traits without the corresponding behaviors. Meaning, you bred this thing, and because he goes into a rant where Maserati is saying, "I'm going to shut you down" and all that kind of stuff, and he's talking about how all this. He said, "Hammond will protect you this time," and he gets into this. All of this exists because of my work, saying all we've been doing is what we've been doing since day one. Nothing in Jurassic World is natural. Because if we gave you exactly what you wanted, they would look totally different. Uh,
But you didn't want different. You wanted something with scales, with teeth. So cooler, I believe, is what the memo you sent me.
but the best line ever is, "I did not ask for a monster," and he goes, "Well, the monster is a relative term. To a canary, a cat could be considered a monster."
We just got so used to being the cat.
And yeah, so it's so great that I thought that is my all time favorite scene in this movie, besides the big brawl at the end. But because Wu has a similar argument in the book where he's trying to convince Hammond to use more pure strains, but Hammond's saying, "No, that's not what the public wants. They want the tail draggers. They want this and that and that." And Wu's saying, "We have the potential to actually take this to the next level. So this is like Nobel, because all of his stuff hasn't been published. All of his theories, actually, him making the dinosaurs, that's not public. It was going to go public once the park opened. So, and Hammond was kind of screwing him out of that. So he had a righteous anger with him in the book. So, like I said, Dr. Wu is more in character with his book characterization than ever before, because he never had the chance to do it in the first one. He was more of a guy who's like, "Oh, good, the raptors are hatching," and telling Ian, "Hey, you sound stupid, right?"
But yeah, so we'll be coming back to Henry Wu as he keeps coming in movies where he kind of has a weird development, but we'll get to that when we get
But
to
yeah,
that.
what's funny is
But hey,
when we last see him is when everything goes south, he starts doing like secret lab thumbprint labs like 007 shit, and even talking about how they have a special deal in place. And the DLCs for the games, Camp Cretaceous, we delve more into the secrets of Wu to show you that he was up to some pretty crazy stuff. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if BD Wong makes a slight appearance as him in a flashback scene in Rebirth regarding a Big Boy there, but that remains to be seen.
exactly. So let's. Okay. So I think we should probably nip this in the bud here. I know a lot of people, for Jurassic Park fans, they're honestly sick and tired of seeing kids be involved with the Jurassic movies, but like, you gotta understand, it kind of goes hand in hand. It's like it's not only just a wondrous thing for adults to see dinosaurs, but it's wondrous for kids to see dinosaurs, and you have to see, especially since Colin Trevorrow is handling this movie as he's is like seeing this through the eyes of a child. So of course we do have uh main kids here, which would be Claire Deering's nephews, Gray and Zach.
Oh yes, Nick Robinson and Ty Simpkins, who fans. And speaking of another MCU fan, MCU member, we have him. He was Harley in Iron Man 3. The kid with the Dora Explorer watch that met the mechanic, Stark, of course.
AKA the person that everyone complains, oh, you should have been the next Iron Man. What's this? This Riri Williams? But who cares about that? It should have
Are
been.
are people seriously saying that about a guy who only appeared in two movies and one of them was a cameo at a funeral?
Yes,
It'd be
they're
cool,
saying
but
that.
oh goodness gracious me. Anyway, but yeah, like I said though,
That reminds me, we have to get ready to see Ironheart. It's like coming out uh next no next not next week. It's 2 weeks actually.
okay, so yeah, so like I said though, we got Zach who is a little bit like teenager girl crazy. In fact, even Derica joked at a point where Gray is going very hard about how they could even still potentially have more Dino DNA even if the mines dry up, and he's too busy looking at girls to even pay attention to the part where he's like, "Oh, come on, Gray was actually making a point there."
And I honestly don't know what's the deal with up Zach. It's like, so he's away from his girlfriend, but he keeps eyeing other girls. So it's like, I don't know. That's the part where I just had to step back and go like, red flags.
But raging hormones never changes, as Uncle Ben said. But but he also keeps getting messages from her, and there's a great point where the dad jokes that, "Hey, you're not going off to war. Just wrap it up." Like, but it's great. So he's a little detached, and Gray kind of knows things are a little off because the reason this whole trip is even happening is because mom and dad are finalizing some divorce papers. So once again, there's that big D where D's not
It's
dinosaur.
another divorce? Really?
Yeah, and so the idea is that she wanted them to have at least one good time as a family before they had to bring the hammer down. And Zach's already nonchalant about the whole thing. Like, yeah, well, people break up. That's what happens. Whereas Gray is still at a young age, at the point where even um, Judy Greer's character is, very. She insists Claire should have been with him because she says Zach can be so mean to Gray. And Zach does represent your typical teenager, girl crazy, looking at his phone, and not seeing the forest for the trees, and he starts to slowly turn around once they get to like the mosasaur scene, and as they almost come to near death experiences, he starts to get closer and closer with his bro, and it's actually kind of heartwarming to see it play out as the movie goes on.
Actually, he kind of starts a little bit earlier than that when they're at the petting zoo, and he's like, "Okay, you know what? Sorry, this Zara person isn't really paying attention to us. So let's just have like rampage through the party. Let's go."
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said though, he over the time he kind of reminds me of that. I think about it. He reminds me a little bit of Brick from Dick Donner's The Goonies, kind of. And Zach is kind of like
I still
Mikey.
uh, I'm gonna probably get torn to pieces here. I still haven't seen the Goonies
Oh,
yet.
it's a good one. It's a good one. Trust me, you'll love it. Same guy who made Superman fly.
I I need to see it because it's turned 40 this year. Goodness, a lot of franchises are turning
Old.
like half centuries old at this point.
Well, like Jeremy Johnson in his review, the amount of time between How to Train Your Dragon live action versus How to Train Your Dragon remake is the same time as How to Train Your Dragon was far away from movies like Mortal Kombat. Let that sink in.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that I think about it, so Zach's kind of like coldness and detachment. I think even he was kind of seeing the signs about the whole divorce thing, and he was kind of like handling it his own way. It's like I'm not gonna be broken about it. I'm gonna handle this mature. Just gonna try to keep my mind off of it. I can understand now. It's probably coming to fruition why he's probably thinking of like look at other girls and he's, oh my god. Okay, so now I'm starting to have another theory popped up. Maybe he was starting to see other girls because he was trying to say like, okay, so I'm gonna pretend I'm my dad right now. I have this good relationship with my girlfriend here, but for some reason it doesn't work. What's he thinking? So am I seeing other girls being pretty more than her? Is something wrong with me, or is something wrong with her? There's something just wrong with him.
Well, even you notice when they're doing the goodbye, a thing she tries to start with the "I love you," but he didn't say it back.
Maybe because he's a little bit disillusioned about the whole relationship thing.
Possibly, you got a good point there because his folks are going through a divorce. I love it when he mentioned they get mail from two different lawyers. He goes, "Oh, that's not a problem." He goes, "No, I looked them up. They're divorce lawyers." What's funny is I think Gray, they don't outright say it, but he could possibly be on the spectrum given how he memorizes a lot of huge facts about dinosaur facts and all this stuff, but also kind of has a bit of a obsession with like distance and time and how many teeth something has. So he might be on the spectrum. I think they don't outright say it, but he does show traits.
His room definitely looks like he would be on the spectrum.
Yeah, but I don't think.
I'm not judging. I kind of have the same type of room as him, although mine's a little bit more disheveled.
Yeah, of course.
We're still working on that one.
I don't think the killer of killers is gonna come far away from another planet to pick up his spine just so they can make themselves smarter.
Oh my god, I forgot he was in that one too.
Oh no, no, that wasn't him. But oh,
Oh, thank God. I was about to lose. Like, how is this kid everywhere? Like pop culture phenomenon.
no, but I'm making a joke about the whole spectrum thing being what led to the that. We'll talk about that in a later month. Trust me, that event is coming up. Badlands.
Oh, you're. Oh, I forgot we're doing a predator thing, are we?
Anyway, so but yeah, like I said though, what's funny is he could have eased. I see him as sort of a blending of Tim from the novel with the youngness of Lex from the novel and the youngness of Tim from the movie. It's like he's a good blend, and it is genuinely nice, especially if you ever had siblings, to see the sibling dynamic improve. Like there's a part when they're scared of almost going into certain death, and he tells them you gotta jump, and even after they just fall over a waterfall and shit, he still proudly tells them, "Hey, guess what? You jumped." And that moment is like, oh. And there's a moment that to kill time in between, where before a big operation starts, he just starts having a memory about remember how we used to go to old grandpa's house and scare a ghost, that kind of thing. I'm all like, oh, that it's moments like that help
And
humanize them.
also where they're repairing the Jeep. Zach, why? I remember there was like a therapist reacting to that, and they note how right Zach was to have Gray carry the power battery and say, "Here, you're stronger than me."
Mm-hmm.
Which, to be fair, realistically, Zach would be strong enough to handle a battery like that, but he's giving Gray that level of confidence, that level of boost. Like, no, no, you're way stronger to handle like power batteries. So this power battery is very important to us if you want to get out of here alive. So just need you to take this. Is without you, we're kind of toasted.
Also, one great moment too is when they go see the ankylosaur and Zach and Zach's like telling him, "Look, you got four dinosaurs here. Those whatever you call a sauruses." He goes, "They're called ankylosaur. We're not supposed to be here."
And there's five.
Yeah, that was great. Although there's that one joke that will make you laugh. If we get caught and go off the road, we're going to have to like get arrested and make toilet root beer inside the toilet, like. You,
Fuck.
which makes you think of Sonic for Hire and the Ass Wine. Thunderhead, he's like the best character. Uh, but yeah, like I said, the kids do help with that perspective, and they're pretty good at imagination too. Because there's a scene where they have to deal with like say a pteranodon falling on top of them, and it's like inches from their face, and they have to act for real, like oh crap, we almost got stabbed, and they make it work. 'Cause I thought they actually had a practical pteranodon at least inch close to them, but that was all CG. But their acting helped sell it.
It's funny. We imagine there was a lot more CGI in Jurassic Park 3 than we thought, and not we even also thought there was more practical in Jurassic World than there actually turned out to be was.
But yeah, so anyway, now to the next one on our list. The late great Ephron Khan as Simon Maserani, the rich benefactor that's helping run this park, and is barely getting his pilot's license in.
To the point where his uh, air teacher kind of has to throw up after another flight.
But yes, he is such a great president. I remember when people first saw Ephron Khan, they expected him to be a villain, which makes sense given that we saw him as a villain as side doctor, Doctor Sick in Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh yeah. Sadly enough, he was supposed to have a bigger role in that movie, and
And
then
he
it
just
kind of got. And
they
then Sony decided like, nah, like nuanced development. No, we don't need that. We want a straightforward Spider-Man movie.
they literally left him
But we'll keep it.
hanging.
We'll keep it in the marketing because we're stupid like
Yeah,
that.
he's the voice that goes, "Do you have any idea what you really are?" That was him, and he's not only a big actor, in the parts he had here. He was a big actor out of Bollywood. He was well regarded and well known in India. So to have him be in a Jurassic movie is like having a superstar. So I'm pretty sure in Bollywood that when they were watching Jurassic World, they're probably happy to see him on screen. And he just has
So
that warm
so him
personality.
being
Hmm.
the perspective, if I'm getting it right, putting him in a Jurassic movie is essentially had the same level as Richard Attenborough in the first Jurassic Park, right?
Yes, you could argue that. And again, he was such a great moment to the point when I realized he was not going to make it. I actually had a little bit of a, oh, and you realize at the exact moment he realizes it. This is a great moment before they crash, where he kind of like moves his. The camera's kind of zooming in on his face, and he has a look on his face that makes me think of, oh, I've wasted my life.
But that should be known. He's definitely not an ill intent person. Like, sure, he did kind of give the go to for creating a scary ass dinosaur. It was kind of had like dollar signs for eyes when he actually saw the Indominus. But when he saw how dangerous it was, he just really let loose. Like, I wanted a theme park attraction. And you gave me a freaking Frankenstein monster from hell.
Like you said, I love that bit when he mentions how who even authorized you to do any of this stuff, and Wu bluntly says, "You did. This
Well,
was
you did.
your signature." And then even Hoskins says, "You think that the guy with holdings and telecom, all this infrastructure,
Oil.
is just solely making his money off of theme parks and petting zoos?" Saying he has a lot of military assets diversified. He probably didn't even know what he owns. So it's just a trait of some capitalists where you got these guys who have a big outgoing personality that are very like, okay, they're very homely, but they don't know what their research is going into, and they get find out like, wait, I authorized what now? Sounds like a person in the news recently that's rhymes with Tusk. But yeah, he is a welcome presence, but you can kind of see signs. There's a part where he does, the company man in him does come out when they mention how they want to try to capture this thing with non-lethals. Where he mentions they have millions invested on that specimen alone. But after he sees that it has gotten so bad and that argument with Wu, he decided to hell with the money. I gotta stop this thing. You gotta admit, his gusto is encouraged when he's telling like the ACU guys if they ever served in any battle. And he's with them saying, "We're going, look alive, look alive." Like you can't help but feel it with him too, man. And it goes south very fast.
So you got another audience there, but not familiar with this one. It just says nope.
Hello there, nope. But he was sadly Ifran Khan did recently pass away due to a long battle with the sort of cancer he had. So it's a shame. Even though his character perished in this movie, I would have loved to have seen more of him throughout the series, just because of the way he brought to it. Uh,
But technically we kind of do through the Lego material.
oh yes,
Yeah,
did
there was a lot of, for some reason I don't understand why they made a lot of like Lego mini movies that were kind of like out of continuity but kind of canon
didn't
Jurassic World
didn't
rules with
he
Lego.
didn't he reprise his role for that?
I thought it would be, but I'm gonna like Google really fast quickly to make sure. It says Jurassic random. See here. Da-da-da.
Anyway, but yeah, like I said though.
Well,
Hmm?
you go around and talk about that more, but I'll just
So we do have the rest of the Jurassic staff. Yeah, like we mentioned, Jake Johnson as Laurie, who is the guy who's the audience by saying like, why do we just let the corporations into dinosaurs? They owned all the stadiums. Like he's kind of Colin Trevorrow's mouthpiece for like railing against capitalist systems and stuff like that. Because he's kind of like, I made a joke. He's kind of like a Brundlefly fusion of Dennis Nedry without the greedy impulses, and Ian Malcolm with his whole belief in how you're doing this wrong. Like he's the voice of reason nobody listens to, and when it happens, you're basically quoting, "Boy, do I hate being right all the time." That's basically what Laurie is. And might I mention that Jake Johnson went on to play a very great Peter B. Parker in the Spider-Verse movies?
mm-hmm.
But yes, and he has a lot of great comedic moments. There's one great moment where he managed to cop an.
No.
Oh,
So just quick update. I tried to look. Sadly, Ephron did not reprise his role.
Oh,
They got someone else.
okay. But there's a funny moment that even my friend joked to me once, where he copped an original shirt from the Jurassic Park 3, I mean, the original Jurassic Park 93 tour, where even Claire's like, isn't that kind of in poor taste to wear a shirt from an event where people died? And he admits, like, that cool first park was pretty legit. I'm like, well, I'm guessing he's going by hearsay. I don't think he actually witnessed that park way back when. It didn't even open, for crying out loud.
And legit, yeah, the whole thing was like run through bubblegum and prayers, essentially.
Yes, that is, yeah. But they learned from their mistakes by having a lot more staff, because remember, they were only running the mini tour with minimum staff. This time they had a full staff, people trying to, and the more things go wrong, the more they start realizing, oh, this is just getting worse, to the point where they realize, oh shit, we may never open again. Like,
The point where I joked, to say, well, I know one thing. This is gonna make one hell of a badass episode of Defunct Land.
and oh my gosh, but like I said though, because they had to put up with tracking the dinosaurs, hearing people scream over the comms, get shredded to pieces. It's like not an easy job for them, but they managed to keep it up. So like I said, we got Vivian, such a great member. She's usually the one that has to report on the radio, like everybody get out of there, that kind of stuff. But I just love the confidence she does have, and she does have a funny scene where Laurie decides to stay behind, and she's about to go in for a kiss, and she's like, "No, no, no, I'm already with a guy."
Oh, I didn't think it was serious. You don't talk about him a lot.
Well, they never asked. What's funny though is how Laurie has like a bunch of dinosaurs that keep getting knocked out throughout the movie, where he's like has this come on man face every time someone hits him. Because he says he has a controlled chaos system where it's just enough stability to keep it together, but enough looseness to be natural.
Actually, I had to think a little bit. It's like when I know Owen knocked him over. Did Hoskins really knock over the toys in spite or something?
No, I think he just knocked him down when he had his unit take over the place. I know he took
Oh,
I know he took Laurie's coke. So you got recording this, and we also have Barry, played by Omar Sy, who was Bishop in X-Men the year prior in Days of Future Past. And he also went on to play the voice of Hot Rod in Last Night. Very great French actor. And he plays, Barry, who is Owen's partner in crime, who knows the Raptors just as well as he does. And you can really buy that they're friends. They just have that chemistry that works so well. Like they fist bump each other. They go, "Are you crazy?" If they're making a suggestion that sounds out of the ordinary, but he knows he can do it. In fact, it's if anything, I could compare it to a Han Solo Lando Calrissian dynamic. Now that I think about it.
I can kind of see it too. And he works close enough with Owen that the Raptors, so they don't follow his orders, but they understand that he has a close kinship with Owen enough, so they don't like obviously touch him unless like they feel threatened, like he's waving a gun at them.
But yeah, he is. But he's so, and he keeps telling people how they never learn. Like when he heard ACU being deployed, he realized these people never learn. Like he's heard because he knows like, oh, and just as dangerous as these things are, but he still has enough respect for them too. Like he has that little petting session with Delta. But I think as close as the Blue Raptor is to Owen, I think Delta is as close to Barry.
I can kind of see that.
Okay, so I think I mentioned.
Like maybe if I do uh more pieces, I might demo that she kind of sees him as his uncle or something.
Hmm. And I'm glad he is a person of color in a Jurassic movie that does not buy it, unlike Mr. Arnold. Well, I think that's stupid. How it should have ended joke where Samuel L. Jackson was up with a gun and Ellie's like, "I saw your arm." And he's like, "You assumed that it was mine."
Well, I mean,
Yeah, that was a that was an ancient how it should have ended, but yeah, yeah. Like I said, though, I'm glad he made it to the end because I think there was a point where I got a little worried for him when the Raptors turned. I'm like, Barry better not buy it, and thankfully he made it out of it.
Sadly, he doesn't come back for the later movies. I don't know why.
He did return
Maybe did it?
in Dominion. He did return in Dominion.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, it's been a while since I've seen Dominion, and definitely want to go in fresh with the expanded edition when we cover it.
All right, so
So,
here is.
okay, so I'm sure a lot of people are wondering okay, come on, there's one more character, and we have to talk about it. So, yeah, let's talk about Zara.
Ah, yes, the nanny character played by, I have it right here too. Uh, her name was Katie McGrath. She was she was Morgana Pendragon and BBC's Merlin at one point. So she's been in a lot of stuff, and she was cast as to be the one to look after the. Oh, she was Lena Luthor in the Supergirl series. But anyway, sorry. But like I said, she was cast to look after Zach and Gray while Claire was dealing with all this business stuff that involved the Indominus. And she.
I know I know we called her the nanny, but it's the execution leaves a lot to be desired.
Well, yeah, because she has a lot going on in her own life to the point where it's easy for the kids to give her the slip. And when Claire gives her the order of "don't let them out of your sight" when they come back into the park during a big chaotic scene, comes to probably the most talked about moment in this movie where people go, "Wait, that ain't right, man." Where she gets swooped up by a pteranodon and tossed around like a rag doll in between all of them before getting a huge ass dip into a tank which she established earlier had a big attraction, a Shamu called Mosasaur there.
And she literally gets eaten slash kind of squashed underneath by just the same eaten pteranodon. And it's okay. So let's just. I know a lot of people think that that's like just a big overkill and it's like an undeserved thing, but let's literally suggested that she wants to get eaten.
And do it in the most
So
spectacular fashion too.
this was this, and honestly, I honestly like give her like big props to Lana because I know like a lot of people would want to go through a Jurassic movie and not want to end up being like Denafu, but let's be honest, a lot of the characters that you know the most, the best, are the ones that also get their uh big Jurassic dinner moments.
Dr.
Like
Gennaro.
like like the freaking Nedry, the Muldoon, even uh Lello. All these guys, they're like either varying degrees of being assholeish or selfish or just plain stupid, and did end up getting the comeuppance. But to be fair, they're also in a vicinity of animals just acting animals. It's like it's literally put a main character in a forest with an aggressive bear, and of course they're gonna get attacked. It's a bear just doing what a bear does.
I still argue Eddie Carr got it the worst. He was trying to do the right thing and got wishbone for it. But there were people that were saying like, "Well, what the heck did the nanny do to deserve such a over the top?" Because not only is she getting tossed around, she's getting dunked up and down like it's a baptism revival.
I mean, she did let the kids out of her sight. Kids, I mind you, that are going through like a divorce moment, and also mind you, kids that are relative to literally one of the highest paid heads of the very theme park you are standing on, and your boss.
And well, it's not for lack of trying, but like I said, it is the part people remember the most. But I remember people were saying, I'm pretty sure if Zara was a masculine character, not a female, and got that way, people were saying, "Oh man, he went out in the most metal way." But you think she probably raised an uproar because she was a lady that was getting like, because she's actually one of the first major female deaths we've seen on screen in a
No,
Jurassic film.
she. No, yeah, yes. Now that I think about it, oh my God, yes, Zara is literally. Well, obviously, because not the first, because we saw some ACU units in the Indominus disaster that were female, but she like as far as like named and vocal characters of the series, yeah, she's the first female to get it done in by a Jurassic animal, or two, or three.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I think Crab Cretaceous has a few more ladies that also bought it now. But
Hi, Swag.
but yeah, like I said though, it's a memorable moment, and the controversy it raised was pretty silly, especially the debate where I think the backlash was so strong it did lead to a negative ripple effect on the sequels where you had to make sure the person getting it had to be like Slipknot. You had to like punch out a lady before you got your head blown off later in the big. This is a real bomb scene.
But like, but as we'll always keep pointing out, the actress suggested it. The actress wants it. The actress literally said she was all gung ho to the point she does her own stunts to do that.
That is not a face
Like
replacement. She
if
actually
if
does
that
fall and everything.
if that's not enough for to allow someone to enjoy being like a facet of being going down in Jurassic Park history as one of the noble characters that gets devoured by extinct animals come back to life. I don't know what is.
Yeah, I think the only way gonna top that is that maybe you have ScarJo taken out by a mosasaur, but that'd just be copying the same thing. Not likely to do that.
Wow, Ian just like got it too. It's like it's the first named female character to die. How did I not notice that till now? But characters dying like that raises stakes. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I think we covered all the humans. Now let's get to what everybody's here for. The big attractions themselves. The dinosaurs.
Let's. The we should start with the one of the animals that was able to make a big appearance in the last movie, but didn't get enough to do really. It was more kind of like a hand wave, it's like, "Hi, I'm here. Okay, I'm by." The Ankylosaurus.
And they would get even more prominence in the spin-off series, but for now, yeah, this is a scene where you get to actually see Yankees with the club tails and the spiked armor, the walking tanks of the dinosaur world.
And they actually get both a nice whimsical kind of moment, even though it's like poor Gray is like just kind of like going, no, 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 we're out of bounds. We're gonna be in trouble. We're gonna have like make root beer and toilet water and all that. But still getting to go, what the fuck? They get the whimsical moment, but they also get the badass action scene moment.
Oh yeah, one gets to have a one-on-one with the hybrid dino, and it almost looks like an homage to Godzilla Raids Again, with the Anguirus looking ankylosaur just trying to go, and just like Anguirus, not really succeeding against a theropod rival.
Ian raised the point. If terrible deaths only get saved for bad people, we're never going to get that scared for the good character's well-being. I agree, and I hope they deliver that in Jurassic World Rebirth. And John says, fact this park has been open for 10 years without major incident is amazing in that amount of time.
Disney had more deaths on their park than Jurassic World by comparison in that amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I said,
And
though,
so, yeah, it's a nice testament that they show how tough the Yankees are. Where so we had this whole scene with Jimmy Fallon, of all people, having a cameo as like this instruction video about the gyrospheres. So yeah, these things are tough enough to stop like
50 cal
point blank
bullets.
bullet rounds.
Mhm.
But the Yankees like own club tails are tough enough to cause at least a decent crack in them.
But
So
yes,
it's nice, good like stature of power scale to these nice things, and it's nice that they're gonna get like a bigger role in this spin-off Camp Cretaceous. Our
Bumpy,
lovable Stumpy,
Bumpy, yeah. And oh my gosh,
Bumpy.
although might I add, like every dinosaur, the Ankylosaur got a crappy ass toy from Hasbro. The last time they were made, Jurassic. We'll talk about the toy line. Oh god, the goodness that. What were they
Do we
thinking?
have to?
What?
I guess we have.
No,
I guess we have to.
no,
Goodness, I wasn't planning it, but we have to.
we'll get that ready for we'll talk about Rexy. Actually, I think.
Oh,
Mm.
Ian says that's funny because an American re-edit of Raids Again was going to say that Anguirus was an Ankylosaurus. Huh. I never actually realized that. It kind of does. almost. I was assuming it's kind of more like a mutated armadillo, really.
Damn that armadillo.
But that's the scene because it shows the Dinosaur Rex is no joke and absolutely can kill other dinosaurs, even once they can fight. Which, yes, we'll touch on it when we touch on Big Bad Boy and Dinosaur. But, yeah, the Icons kind of get only a scene, but they definitely get to do a lot more than they did in the third movie. That was like a transition hand wave.
And now, speaking of the last movie, we also have it returning the pteranodons. They have their own aviary, which leads to a very dramatic scene where the Indominus breaks into the bird cage, and all the birds just freak out and cause havoc. And I say, I'm pretty sure a lot of lawsuits resulted from those guys getting out.
Yeah. So there are pteranodons, but I'm sure a lot of people kind of did a double take seeing certain ones that kind of made people think like, okay, so people up in our dominance being a hybrid, but where are these little weird, ugly ass little like miniature T-Rex with wings
Now,
things?
that is
Those are actual dinosaurs.
exactly, yeah, Dimorphodon. Which is also, Dimorphodon is an actual dinosaur from the Jurassic period. Because famously, some of the more popular dinosaurs in Jurassic Park are actually from the Cretaceous period, such as Tyrannosaurus and Triceratops. But a Dimorphodon does come from the Jurassic era.
Which now that you bring it up, maybe that's what they should have been done if they want to like make new assets. Like, so they're even great points that like the DNA of fossils can actually be preserved. So even if the mosquitoes in amber dries up, the actual fossils themselves can bring about like the de-extinctification of dinosaurs. So why not just say like, okay, be prepared to be wowed to see dinosaurs that predate even the Tyrannosaurus Rex. These are the giants that rule the earth before the actual kings and queens and all that. But no, we decided we wanted to play God here.
Well, it's so funny because they're a favorite of the writer and Colin Trevorrow, because these guys are. If you thought the big pteranodons were a pain in the butt, um, oh god, the little guys. I'm pretty sure half the bandages we saw of people getting in the evacuation scene was probably from Dimorphodon bites.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, in fact, I'm gonna put up a picture of one.
also, so while Josie does that, it's funny that they kind of dug up the unused scene from the Lost World Jurassic Park when Masrani has a helicopter and the Pteranodons and Dimorphodons get released out of the aviary, and they essentially have the helicopter scene where it's like, this is how they write down. Like one of them gets plucked out of the helicopter, like it yanked out of the air. One of them gets impaled through the windshield with the huge beak, and the whole thing goes down in blaze of glory. So again, all the Jurassic was literally just a series of films that are like putting bits and pieces of themselves to the point where even in Rebirth they're gonna get the big, long sought riverboat with a T-Rex.
Okay,
instant.
there it is right there. That thing is freaky looking. Like I said, it kind of looks like it.
It's
yeah.
It looks like a hand puppet from hell.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure people could argue if you had to make something still practical, it probably could have been these guys. But it's funny because Chris Pratt had to be wrestling with a little person that was in mocap gear to be the Dimorphodon that he had to get Bryce to shoot off him.
It's still so funny to just see that like just that little person just kind of just slouched forward as Chris was holding him up.
And then,
but
yeah, like I said, the Pteranodons.
Oh my god! Oh, we as we just realized when we were watching that the people aren't only just getting injured by the Pteranodons attacking, but also when the Pteranodons and Dimorphodons are falling after being shot.
Yeah,
like, these are heavy creatures, mind you.
So if
it's like imagine if like an albatross or like I don't know how big these things are. It's like a miniature. Like imagine if a horse just fell out of the sky and landed on you.
Yeah, I don't think it would kill you, but you'd probably not be walking from that, okay. So, yeah, because I was watching the trajectory of the Pteranodon falls. I'm going, I'm pretty sure it fell on some people in there.
Oh, they're actually in the Lost World game, the Dimorphodons.
Yes, and it is a pain in the
Is
butt to fight.
yeah,
Because it's one of those,
I'll have,
because it's one of those
I'll have to
enemies,
see when I get to play it.
because it's one of those enemies that they start high and you want to aim for them, but they become ground crawlers, so you have to crouch to even catch up with them. Because they kind of do this thing where they'll slouch forward and they keep going rah, 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 with their teeth like a claptrap from Donkey Kong. And if they get on top of you, they'll just keep on gnawing at you. They're quite aggressive, just like the ones that tried to attack Owen.
Let's just be aware when I'm playing my own playthrough of that game.
Yeah, yeah. Point is,
But
gas bombs will shoot them as they're in the air right away. When they make this noise, rah, 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 ah, you know you got it. All right.
okay, so I on next on the list we have so she not one of the poster phase, but she's definitely made a splash when she first appeared in the trailer, and quickly became a fan favorite for a certain moment later in the movie. But we have the big Mosasaurus.
Which I know the Dino Nerd will do the Actually, technically, it's not a dinosaur thing, but it's got mosasaur, so aquatic animal. But
It's an animal that still is during the early days. The same animals that existed at the same time as the dinosaurs. Let's put it that
by
way.
that logic, pteranodons are not dinosaurs either, but we still call them dinosaurs. So hey, it's our podcast. We'll go ahead and call the mosasaur a dinosaur, even though technically it's not. But yeah, so it's funny is that this thing is like Shamu on steroids.
The point they have like a big Shamu show where they're feeding her with a great white shark. Huh. I wonder if that was a little bit of a little personal vendetta victory for Spielberg to see, like, yeah, Bruce, take that. Try to not work on me now, huh?
Yeah, like I think yeah, Colin Trevorrow did admit it might have been a little bit of a nod to Jaws, which celebrates its 50th anniversary in 8 days, the June 20th, I might add.
Holy shit.
Yes. Oh, and Batman Begins also gets its anniversary on the 17th, and I said, a Christopher Nolan film not released in June? Huh.
It wasn't released in June. I think you're mean not released in July.
And not released in July, yeah, as I'm saying, yeah, because Christopher Nolan likes to release films in July close to his birthday month. I mean, Dark Knight and everything since then has been coming out in July, except for Tenet because of, well, COVID, but yeah. We do have a mosasaur in New Mexico in our state museum, as Ian points out.
Ian, yeah, did. How is it? How big is it?
It's smaller than the one in Jurassic World, that's for sure. They definitely gave her veggies for that one in the movie to make her quite impressive. I wouldn't be surprised if that was some genetic tweaking to make her even bigger than the model that was shown in. But then again, I think the scale model was scaled down a little bit so it could fit in the building, but it was still an impressive looking model of a mosasaur. Let me see if I can pull it up. But I'm not going to show it on screen. I'm going to show it to you in the Discord chat. But yeah, like
okay?
it is a aquatic dinosaur. I mean, aquatic reptile that is just has these big flippers and flukes like a whale, a long paddle tail, big snapping jaws like a crocodile, and as Jeremy Johns joked, it was like Lake Placid. The spoilers for Lake Placid was the mosasaur, so he called it Lake Placid all the time.
And as I always pointed out, it's like, oh, he also has like a row of teeth in the roof of his mouth, which probably snapped on Sarah as he ate her. Oops.
She.
Yeah.
Because even the park operator says she's a little shy, but make sure you give her a nice big hand when she pops up. Ah, there it is. So there's a section that talks about the how New Mexico might have once upon a time been underwater, And one of the creatures that would have existed during that time is the mosasaur. I'm going to go ahead and send you an image right now.
Okay, this ought to be good. That's wild text. Okay.
Hold on.
Click on.
I thought it captured.
Yeah, it yeah, it just sent me to the page of your image results.
Okay, I'm gonna send it right here now. But here it is. There's the gal, and that thing is pretty cool. But I also love the noises they gave the mosasaur in this movie. She has this big dramatic bull sound whenever she comes up. And the funny thing is, you think, okay, so as long as I stay out of the water, I should be fine, right? Just you wait till the
If
climax.
only we're that easy. Yeah, she looks pretty great.
But yeah, that
But
the mosasaur is a
so
breakdown.
she only gets like 3 scenes, like the initial uh arrival, like in as the park works, and as everything goes to shit, and the final climax. And you gotta give it to the girl. Every time she appears, it's like it always like a memorable moment.
I guess you could say
So that
she always makes a
it's
splash.
ha ha ha, very funny. Yeah, it's kind of clear to see that every time she appears for all of her 3 moments, they're moments you never forget.
Oh, on top of that, she had one of the most metal posters. Like I remember seeing this poster on the lobby of Regal. That was one of the reasons I wanted to come see it, where it shows a great white swimming in an aquarium, and right behind it is a mosasaur getting ready to chomp. That is like the one Jurassic World poster I keep remembering.
And mostly would end up being such a big splash that I know it's gonna be a little bit contentious for some, but I've seen kind of videos of it, and she is kind of a welcome addition to the Jurassic World River Adventure revamp, where yeah, it's a moment where they have a little bit of a it technically it is, you would argue it's like, oh, it's just another ride with like screens as like a viewpoint, but to be fair, it could be a lot worse. It could be Fast and Furious Supercharged.
Oof.
Man, that was underwhelming.
But
But at
yes,
least when she appears in that ride, at least you get a good distinction of water splashing close to you when that happens. So,
on top of
and,
that,
and let's be honest, like the last time a Spielberg based identity had a animatronic water, it didn't work out. So, would you really want a ride that constantly day in day out have something that's just kind of stilted, standing there and not working?
yeah. So, the another thing about I love the ride is that you have the over the water ride where the shark will hang over the water. She jumps out and chomps it, and then she splashes down Shamu style. But then the stage will descend, so you can see in the tank as she just swims around and finishes the rest of her meal. And I think Grace said she had
Which, to
like,
be fair, I will admit that that's like a cool way to do it. It's like so it's almost kind of like you could tell a lot of these park enthusiasts the when they were making the park, they realized like, okay, there's gonna be a wow factor, but of course they want to see the dinosaurs, so they'll have the surface view, but also know that, well, the dinosaur is like water bound, so we have to at least have them see her in water. So yeah, I would bet money that they like kind of tested that thing like 10 times before they said, okay, this thing's open to go, everything's okay, she's not gonna break the glass or anything. Let's do this.
I mean, that must be a scary idea. Imagine you're sitting in the show and she decides one day, "Yeah, I want to hit that glass." Boom.
Aw, Ian called her Moira.
Oh, yeah, that's a great name for her. So
To be fair, it's better than calling her. To be fair, it's better than calling her Mosey. I think that's kind of cheating a little bit because it's like, well, that's part of her name, Mosasaurus.
but we do it for Rexy.
So
But
yeah,
mm. Anyway, I kind of feel bad that in our thumbnail we kind of gave her a small position given how memorable she is, but she's still in the poster. All right. So most of
and
her,
to be fair, I would feel remiss if I didn't have her in there, right? Initially drew it, so
All right, so we have that, and now we move on to our next big star attract. Oh, we should also mention that all the usual suspects, the trikes, the apatosaurus, apatosaurus
Stegosaurus.
is a take on the brachys, but yeah, like I said, we mentioned before that one dramatic scene involving a practical effect was of a dying apatosaur. The same species of apatosaur was confused for brontosaurus, so you could argue in a way. Colin Trevorrow kind of gave us the Land Before Time mother's death scene in live action, and it does have a similar effect, even though we just barely met this poor long neck, as it's like gasping for air and in pain, and Owen's just comforting it, like there, I know it's rough. It's like such great acting, and I think Bryce Dallas Howard breaking into tears just helps sell that. Oh, they're not looking at a hand puppet; they're seeing something, the life leave its eyes.
That really hurts to see.
And this,
So I guess we should bring up who the cause of that pain, of course.
oh yes, so the new asset that development was the base genome is a Tyrannosaurus with a lot of classified data, including Raptor. Of course, we're talking about the Indominus Rex. Well, badass name for a badass dinosaur, and what would be argued is our first true, straight up villainous dinosaur, because T Rex, you could argue, was just acting out on her instincts. The parents were only looking out for their infants in the Lost World. Even the Spino, as pissed off as he was just being territorial. He wasn't like being outwardly malicious. But this girl, she's on something else.
Like, yeah, of course, people, I'm sure, would be like, well, what about the Raptors? Raptors is like, yeah, okay, but we're talking about a big main attraction lead giant dinosaur that's like tumbles in. It's where the size is the actual factor of threat here, and that's where the actual threat is. And I argued that Spinosaurus came pretty close, considering the fact that that bastard really was really just completely gun hoing the cast to the point where it just would casually just wait for them to finish their nice little cute reunion before seeing them, and then it's like, okay, you got out of your system. I'll give you a 10-second head start.
So yes, whereas the
But
Indominus,
holy shit, the Indominus is a demon.
well, heck, she's the first thing you see in the
I,
movie. Whereas the raptor scene is the beautiful joy of life being born. The movie treats the hatching of the Indominus like we just gave birth to the spawn of Satan here.
the I was gonna say the Antichrist, but I feel like the one we see in the next movie is almost kind of that more.
But yes,
But make no mistake, this thing is a threat to the point where it eats its own sibling. Like, what kind of dinosaur does that?
yeah, I think it's to highlight the fact that she was raised in captivity, and as Owen pointed out, isolated animals don't tend to do well mentally. And like they said, she's been in captivity most of her life. Ate her sibling. Is only fed through a crane, whereas the raptors at least have a nourishing relationship with Owen. It's like this. No wonder the poor thing turned out screwed up. The poor thing was a shut-in, and when she found out just exactly how powerful she was, in fact, this, you're probably gonna like say, "Where are you going with this?" It's kind of like the Phoenix in Last Stand, if that makes sense, where it was caged and confined and told, you can't do this stuff. And when it finally realizes, hey, wait, I'm actually tough shit than all of you, it just goes on a rampage and causes death and destruction everywhere. Uh,
Oh yeah, and so a lot of spin-off material ends up going into effect, like the live tour show, Camp Cretaceous. All of them touch on the Indominus escape, Rex's escape, because that's basically to the Jurassic world as to what the Death Star explosion was in Star Wars. It's like the like de facto moment. It's like ground zero moment of where everything goes to shit.
Hell, even in the next movie, Mills points out how Claire's kind of responsible for creating the Indominus Rex, which led to this whole tumble hill anyway, as it was. So, yeah, the Indominus was, and the fact that they co-signed it, they said, yeah, we'll give it more teeth, make it bigger than the T-Rex when it's fully grown. Uh, and how I still love that when they're coming up with focus names. Indominus Rex was easy to say. They mentioned that, and she's also sponsored by Verizon Wireless. It'd be like, can you hear me now?
So yes, the
Ah.
uh, I wonder if their stocks in that universe went plummeted down after that asset went to kaput.
Mm-hmm. What kept any
But
words?
so the Adonis has all these new tricks in that. So, to be fair, the tricks that the Adonis has, they're also kind of like tricks that happen to different dinosaurs in the original
Yep.
novels. Like I think
Okay.
one of them was able to camouflage.
The Carnosauruses. There were two of them that moved like chameleons, and they killed characters in
Oh yeah.
very interesting fashions in the Lost World book, and even made an appearance in the Lost World arcade game, where he would show up like looking like a chameleon that would be cloaking out in and out of view, and when you shoot him in the mouth, he makes this funny little oh noise.
Yeah, when in the Adonis attacks, she doesn't do the typical thing of like biting down with her huge jaw or like just stepping on you. She'll also grab you with her long arms, just toss you through trees, just slam her tail across you. She'll slash you with her claws, her feet
She'll
claws.
disintegrate you into
She'll
pulp with her
she'll
teeth.
do she'll do a she'll literally do anything she can do because she can.
Yeah, because there's a
And that's literally why a lot of people agree that she's like a villain dinosaur because she does all of this not because she's hungry, but because she feels like it.
like when Owen saw all the dead apatosauruses, like everywhere she goes, huh? She didn't eat none of them, like at all. She goes, she's doing this for sport. I mean, you saw it in the way she killed the ankylosaur. She was looking for a way to test her power, and she grabbed him by the leg and cut him because she realized his top part wasn't going to go down. His club was dangerous, but she saw he has a soft underbelly. She used it to cut his tendon to make him fall on his back, where he's in turtle mode, where I've fallen and I can't get up, and then she takes out his head. And she doesn't even eat him. She just, you know, breaks his neck.
And she was literally this close to literally biting the kids in the gyrosphere, where she's like just. I think she was kind of testing how wide her jaw can go
On top of that, the
when
fact
she was like trying to bite that gyrosphere.
I said she seems to kind of enjoy their fear, because she could have just broken that spear right away, but no, she slowly turns it so she can see them face to face. She sticks her claw in there, and then she starts opening her mouth like a snake, and then starts hammering it up and down. But I made a joke saying, I guess she hasn't seen water before, so she kind of has a fear of swimming. Because when they get near a lake, she kind of looks at it like, I'm not going in there.
Funny enough, something from the water would lead to her downfall, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, to counter the argument of like, well, the Velociraptors were kind of like villainous too, but even when they're acting sneering and all of that, their intent is they want to eat you.
You could argue.
Not so with the Adominus. She literally does all of that because, as I said, she wants to, and she as Owen says, she's just figuring out where she fits in the whole like the circle of life, and well, to her, it's the game of the circle of death, I guess.
Yeah, he said this like he's saying because he mentioned she doesn't know what she is until she's realizing her capabilities. So even Masrani says, "I was saying it's contemplating its own existence." I'm saying she's figuring out her ladder on her place on the food chain. I don't think you want to be there when she figures that out. And even Hoskins points out the way she.
Also,
Yeah, go on.
no, go on. Mine's just gonna be smaller than yours.
Yeah, Hoskins even pointed out how she is designed in every way from top to bottom to be the perfect killing machine. She's just version 1.0. Imagine taking that same ferocity, that same intelligence, that same capabilities, and miniaturizing it almost close to raptor size. Hmm. Must be some,
Foreshadowing.
must be some sort of hot rod dinosaur, I guess. But yeah, your point.
My point was they do know that they do note that why is she white?
Yeah, because
And I argue it's like, well, they have to make it so easy to paint for her toys, obviously,
to
because I feel like of all the dinosaurs, she's the one that the toys always gets right. To like, I think even Hasbro didn't screw it up. It's like every time there's like a spin-off or another movie coming out, whenever they re-release the Indominus, she always gets the exact color scheme down.
and
I feel like it's almost kind of like the same way that Star Wars handles coloring all their blasters white, because if they color it black, it'll look like, oh, it looks like a real weapon, but if they're colored white, it's like, oh, it looks like a toy.
and
Nothing to worry about
well,
here.
it's like you got your stormtroopers versus painting your battle droids and stuff like that. Just an easier color to do. And of all the messed up toys Hasbro did, the Indominus was one of the few they actually got right. Actually, I do remember when the Indominus was first teased, all we saw was her teeth in the cloud, and people were nicknaming it the Devilsaurus Rex and all that stuff. But yeah, and like I said, though, I love how she's never fully revealed until her first major jump scene, where when Maserati first goes to see her, he's all like, "Wow, he said, you think this thing will be too scary for the kids? No, 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 no. This will give the parents nightmares. So is that a good thing or a bad thing?" It's like, no, that's fantastic. And I love when they point out that she breaks the glass every now and then. He even admits, yeah, I like her spirit. So, uh,
And
oh god, when she finally breaks out, when takes out people, it's like, you know, we're nothing. Like they got one of the poor park engineer guys gets picked up along the way by the hands, and you hear her screams over the radio before it gets cut off by a wet crunch. And the poor other security guy's freaking out because he's seeing a guy get torn limb to limb right behind him in the trees.
that poor fat bastard just literally just like one chomp nom nom
Oh god,
right in front of Owen.
and the fact that he had a cross and he's like crying. I'm just thinking back to Ian's line. Oh god, it really is Ellie's line. Ian's line. God creates dinosaurs. God destroys dinosaurs. God creates man. Man destroys God. Man creates dinosaur. And a dinosaur eats man. That leaves women to inherit the earth. But you gotta admit though.
Which, to be fair, Claire was in a power like hierarchy, so it kind of did keep true
But oh my gosh.
a little bit. No,
Yeah,
question a little bit.
yeah. But the tension in that scene when after he eats the other guy, and she's like sniffing around for Owen. There's a great moment where Claire makes a joke about how he should shower her up because he might set it off with his smell, and then it's smelling off for him, and he ends up masking his scent with gasoline. And you got like her blooded
Which is
teeth.
a smart move for him.
You got his freshly blooded
Ugh.
teeth like right next to him. And he's just closing his eyes, trying his best not to stir attention in any way. Also,
And also, I would point out the Indominus also is definitely having prototype traits going on, because even when she is testing how tough her teeth are, one of them like breaks off from the gyrosphere that Owen finds.
and then like I said, she has heat sensors like a pit viper, so she can detect body heat. So I make a joke. She's seeing everything in predator vision. And on top of that, when they started moving all the park guests to the center of the island, okay, why is the Indominus constantly moving downward? Because she sees heat, and you put all the warm bodies in one spot, like you're ringing the dinner bell. And we're not even gotten to the
Which it
yeah, go.
technically it never comes to fruition. But man, imagine if they didn't like try to intervene by getting off into the aviary.
Oh god.
Like she probably would have actually gotten to them.
And oh man, I think she'd go through tourists like I go through popcorn. That's probably what would happen. Just mouthful, chomps full of limbs and screams and blood. Like it would be if they thought they never opened because
Oh
of
my
the.
god, it's oh my god, skulls of people would be stuck in between your teeth like kernels that just keep digging down on you. And oh, sorry, I'm talking about personal experience.
But I'm just going. Oh my god! Like because if you thought the San Diego incident was bad with an angry buck looking for his infant, imagine a thousand other San Diegos done with a creature that likes to kill like her. Would probably be more
Ugh.
messier.
It would probably be demonetized to hell, but I have to imagine a fan might have fan animated a what if the Indominus made it to the center of the park?
Hmm. And she
And
and she was
yikes.
and she was killing dinosaurs left and right. She probably would have killed the paras. Probably would have killed the packies, the galleys. Oh, we never saw her fight a triceratops proper, but I'm pretty sure she'd know how to fight a triceratops by going for the frill, probably. But yeah. So,
Like that, don't go for the front.
hmm so and the thing is, she's smart and learns, and you gotta wonder where that intelligence comes from too, from that other part of her classified genome. And which is the biggest oh shit moment in the movie, but we'll get to that when we talk about the next group.
The smartest moment where she literally remembers where they put her tracking beacon. And I argue that they should have sedated her when they put it in so that she doesn't like wake up and go like, okay, where do they put it? I can't tell where it is.
And that's right before the big shit can
But instead
camouflage.
she remembered where they inserted it.
And I actually quoted a line off the thing saying that the fences are electrified, right? Yes, but they never attack the same place twice. She was having them test the fences for weaknesses systematically. They remember. And that's what she did too.
And she took a step further. It's like, okay, what if I make it look like I look like a skate but didn't?
Yeah,
That'd be a fun game.
yeah, that's the thing. And
Uh, she Dominus presents extreme hide and seek.
because when Laurie looks at the tracker and says, Claire, what are you talking about? It's inside the paddock. And oh shit, you got people in there. And I have a theory that her cuttlefish DNA has something to do with her bioelectric field, so that whenever she's nearby, radios just go wonky. Because conveniently, every time someone says "get out of there, do something," the radios get all jittery.
Mm-hmm.
But and she don't.
Damn it, Ian. I know you said like life finds a way, but why does life have to be a bitch whenever you're playing with forces you can't control? It's funny enough, the Indominus ability to like crackle up radio signals would make her an ideal slasher villain, really.
Put her in Dead by Daylight. Just make her miniaturized.
I mean, hey, if they were able to put Ridley into Smash Brothers, I don't see why not.
Oh yeah, we got the Zanima for crying out loud. In fact, my other friend said that the Predator would be a perfect candidate for that. And you get like a Dutch survivor who can probably use mud and stuff. Ah, anyway,
Man, I'd really need to get Dead by Daylight. I keep thinking of like, oh, I'll get it, and I never do.
all right. So we got to talk about the other important dangerous animals in this island. Uh, the Raptor Squad, as they come to become affectionately known. So we have our members. We got. Let's start with the youngest. We have Charlie, little striped one. Kind of has a Velociraptor 3 look, but kind of cute. We have Echo, who that one also is the
She,
more.
she, she's you'll be able to recognize her because she has a scar on her face, which, looking up, it turns out Echo tried to fight Blue to be like the beta role essentially, but definitely lost out to Blue on
And
that one. So she's sporting that scar. It's like, okay, I remember how strong you are, so I'll follow your lead.
if they were all voiced by D. Bradley Baker, I want her to have Crosshair's accent for whatever reason. That's Scar, probably.
And we have Delta as we bring up that she's the one that definitely has it out for Hoskins.
Yeah, she is also the second oldest of the Raptor crew. And if it were not for Blue, I think she's second in command. In fact, when Blue was seemingly taken out, I think Delta was the one that led the charge against the Indominus. But we have a best girl in Blue, the Raptor Beta.
The beta.
Because as Owen points out,
And
when they Go on.
She, yeah. So she is the beta, so they pretty much follow her as she's kind of like the lead role. But she answers to the alpha, which Owen points out. It's like, well, yes, I'm the alpha because that's how the mutual respect works. He was there when they were hatched. So funny story. It turns out that Echo, Delta, and Charlie were not the same hatchlings that hatched with Blue. She hatched with like 3 different raptors, but they died out, but not by her hands. She's not an Indominus, of course. It's like it happens. Assets like you're trying to breed, and sometimes it doesn't work out. So they end up cloning a new set of 3, so that leads us to have Echo, Delta, and Charlie. But it's funny that Blue would be the only one that would survive that initial batch, as it would turn out that she is quite different than the usual Velociraptors. Like, as the first one had the big one, it was the smart one who like kind of did what Hoskins did, like eliminate the unloyal ones and only have the loyal ones follow in stage.
Oh
But
shit, you're
Blue
right.
is the opposite to the big one.
Actually, you're right. Hoskins' talk is exactly what the big one did. Like like um like Muldoon said,
Mm-hmm.
we bred 8, and she killed all but 3 of the others, and those 3 like sucked up to her. So Blue has more of a mutual cooperation thing going on. In fact, it's one of the few times where you could see raptors actually cooperating with each other versus being a bunch of Three Stooges that will bump into each other. Well, we had the ones in 3, but they were on a mission. They were trying to get their eggs back.
And mission was save the eggs. And of course, you had the Tiger Claws, which were basically just punks, essentially.
Yeah, I mentioned them all being British when they fall
But
like, "Oi, mate."
oh, mate! But in the Raptor Squad, a lot of people did have a little bit of contention when they saw Raptors essentially were like tamed and all. But as Owen keeps pointing out over and over and over and over again, ad nauseum, I feel that people really need to pay attention to the fucking movie. It's not well, it's not control. These things are not tamed. These things will still bite you if you go into their pen, as we saw one of the handlers try to recoup a pig, which they should have just left alone. It's like, well, that's another pig that we so be like out of our paycheck this week. But yeah, once the handler goes in, the raptors start like, wait, that's another like challenge to go. Let's hunt this one down. But it's, as Owen says, more of a mutual respect. I raised them. I helped get give them their challenges, their tasks. I don't leave my guard down. I show that I'm tough enough to handle them.
Yeah, and
So it's no, they're not. They're not loyal dogs. They're more than that. They have their own wants and desires too, as much as any other animal, and even Owen recognizes that. But Blue is, I don't know why I guess I kind of fell in love with her when the final act happened, but I did note that she did kind of stand out. I think the reason why she was more memorable is that she did have the most standout design. It's like she kind of had the silver sleek colors,
the blue
almost
stripe.
kind of like evoking the Spinosaurus. Now that I think about it, and then the eponymous blue stripe that she has.
And oh man, I think I heard that she has monitor lizard blood in her, which explains the blue probably. And um, what's funny is that when the trailer first came out, that teaser with the piano, when they mentioned the park's open, and the ending thing for it after the Jurassic World title is when the Raptors get launched from the thing and are running in the forest with Owen on a motorcycle, and people are like, uh, "Are the Raptors riding with him?" And hey, it's on the poster. Like the poster for Jurassic World that isn't the logo is that one of Owen with the Raptors. Like, and it's like the iconic moment. And the it's funny, but he even says there's a part when Gray asks if they're safe, and Owen's like, absolutely not. Like these guys still are a problem. And when they end up getting turned around, when they find out that the Indominus is part Raptor, she must have communicated to them about how they should be the ones in charge and not the feeble humans. That's when the Raptors go back to their old ways of slaughtering the enemy. Which I love how Hoskins' idea is that these guys will go into enemy camp and eat them all, boot, belt, buckle, and all. And you're going, yeah, but drones.
I argue that they don't really like accept that entirely, as the Adominus points out. I think the Adominus is also pointing out it's like, oh, they were gonna shoot at me, and they're gonna probably shoot at you too, because you're just as vicious as me. They don't act up until they freak out and realize like, oh my god, they're gonna turn on us, shoot it, shoot.
And
Which to be fair, I can understand. I understand their panic because it's not the first time this has happened in Jurassic World. They did have a rogue raptor before, as I pointed out, shot taken down by Claire Deering of all people.
but I gotta say though, it's fun.
I still get surprised by that.
It's so funny that Hoskins was like, "Yeah, this plan's gonna work. Yeah, this plan's gonna work. Yeah, he found the Indominus." After he gets shot, he goes, "He's storage after episode one. I may have gone far in a few places." We even tells Wu, "Yeah, the whole project took a big left turn."
John points out we finally see what happens in an armed company of soldiers versus dinos.
Oh, we gotta mention.
Yeah, that's
We also gotta mention that we have the one guy who was successful in killing a dinosaur on screen with a pistol, and it was that one merc, ACU merc from Engine that was like looking out his window, seeing a Dimorphodon flying for freedom, and he just, for out of nowhere, just pops it.
like, yeah, no, whatever. I do this for a living.
But yeah, and then of course that very same guy ends up getting taken out pretty horribly by Echo, if I remember. He's the guy that bloodily his hands on the glass telling Claire, "Run, they're here." Yeah. And yeah,
But
when the rap.
yeah, to go back. I just want to go back to Blue again. So I just feel like when there, I know that you could, as Owen keeps pointing out, that they're dangerous and all that, but after seeing other movies and coming back to this, I always point out that there's kind of like subtle nuances to where the Raptors are kind of like thinking of how they should be acting. Of course, they've been like kind of held in captivity. Even Masrani has pointed out like no Velociraptors are ever going to be like
Running
a
loose.
park function, like running loose in the theme park. Hell, they weren't even going to get their own exhibit really, which is kind of sad. Really, I feel like with enough time and practice and with enough protocols and safety features, they could have actually debuted Velociraptors as a thing, but it would have taken a lot more time, which probably led to Claire saying like, okay, we're it's gonna take a long time before even the Velociraptors even get to be a thing, and we could be that showcase. So let's just make more new dinosaurs.
Well, maybe if they bred actual, pure blood velociraptors that were turkey sized, maybe they can show them off.
Yeah, but it's you would argue it's like no, we know, we read about the Velociraptors that Alan Grant and Ian Malcolm faced. Like we want to see those raptors.
And then, now what John Hammond and Itchin did at Jurassic Park was create genetically engineered theme park monsters. Nothing more and nothing less. But yeah. Anyway, so it was what's crazy is you look at the display camera on the control room. You can see when the raptors turn on them. You can even see from the POV of the raptor camera when they're like goring a guy and everything like that.
Oof.
But oh man, like I says though, it's so funny that the raptors are really. It does lead to a very tragic moment where Owen comes across Charlie eating a guy, but she looks at him and seems to almost have a moment of recognition before she gets hit point blank by a rocket launcher.
She did not have to go out that way. She was just doing things in self defense, as she saw Owen there say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I do something bad?"
And even sadder, according to her characterization from novelizations and expanded material, Charlie was always looking for the approval of Blue and would like imitate things that Blue.
Done, but
One
damn.
moment. One moment. Uh.
Done, but
One
damn.
moment. One moment. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, yeah, sorry. Sorry, we're back. This was nothing to do with YouTube. It was just my Wi. Sorry, we're back. This was nothing to do with YouTube. It was just my Wi-Fi connection kind of causing OBS to have a little bit of a hiccup, but we're back and fully running. Yeah.
Seeing the GoPro of the raptors hunting the Spec Ops is freaky.
Oh, but I love how the Raptors seemed to get more pissed off when Hoskins for his experiment was like putting cameras on their heads. That when
Right, because they were never trained to handle that. They don't like being treated like that.
and you could tell the way Hoskins and his team were messing with them that they didn't see them as the animals that Owen and Barry saw them as. That they saw them. Oh, these are just like tanks with teeth.
And it's of course lead to them going on the attack.
So you think?
And I understand maybe when Omar was getting like attacked by Blue, it was probably like a heat of the moment. She was like disoriented and it was dark. It was night, so
Of course, when she saw
not to say that the skin color was affecting her judgment or anything. Right.
Racist raptor. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah.
No, I'm not making my best girl being racist. No way.
But yeah. But like I said though. That took a tangent. I was gonna say though, she was really gunning for Owen in the.
Heat of the moment.
She really was gunning for Owen in a you moment when she saw him. We like, hey, he did the whistle. Like, come on. Oh, you gotta admit, it is cute to see.
She probably. I did wonder what happened to Blue after that, because like after that, she kind of disappeared until she reappeared at the front. Maybe Owen kind of like circled around and like
Lost her.
got her like.
Well, he knows how to play.
Which, to be fair, I think that's a good way that Owen handled her.
He knows how to play hide and seek with her, so I'm pretty sure he probably knew her maneuvers well. And those guys were fast and it's nice to see them run through the forest because we keep hearing about how fast raptors are, but we never really get a good demonstration of that. We have the long grass, but their prey was sitting ducks, so they had no reason to be that fast. We had the ones in 3, but that's a blink and you miss it moment when they run through the open fields to just show you, look how fast these guys are, but not enough to really register. But when you see them catching up with a motorcycle and just running like and going after the trucks and everything, you realize, damn, these girls are fast.
Exactly. And the moment in the end, I think that's where I really had a huge connection with Blue and the other Raptors, where they realized, like, after everything, they understood that Owen was not going to retaliate them, that he was still going to put his respect for them,
and also
was willing to bet his own life that like all the hard work he put into was not for naught. And the Raptors, in kind, said like, "No, you're right. You're the actual alpha, not this like wannabe that just came out of nowhere."
Yeah, and once the Indominus attacked Blue, their beta, basically their second in command, I think that's when the others realized, holy shit, you're not on our side, you're your enemy, because they were trained to go after the Indominus's scent when they gave a piece of the flesh that the tracker was in, so that they can track her down.
And give Delta and Echo props. They were able to handle her for a good while before Indominus decided to play dirty, like tossed him into freaking not a Margaritaville. It was definitely one of the barbecue.
That was messed up.
The center of the park.
Yeah, that was messed up. That was.
And then
poor Echo didn't. No, Delta didn't deserve that.
Of course, the toughest one had to go out in a blaze of glory, and then Echo was literally just bit down in one go.
Yeah, but
just tossed like a rag doll.
I did kind of like the T-Rex killing the big one in the first one you noted. But yeah, I was gonna say though, if to go with your humanized raptor image, I think I would totally see Delta being like a Yank type from Ruby. RWBY.
Yeah. So I did draw the other raptors humanized just like I did in the thumbnail. So Delta's kind of the tough one. Charlie is like the young one, and I didn't realize. I think I might change up Echo just a little bit because I made Echo kind of like be the brainy one, a little bit, but reading about how she like fought for dominance against Blue, but then got like the scar on her face, it might be like I think she might be a little bit more like the serious type, where she's like by the book and all that. Where
Yeah,
Delta's just like wanting rare like action and all that. Kind of a Raphael deal, and Charlie would be like the Michelangelo. Oh my god, now I can totally see that already.
yeah. Or in my case, in my Star Wars brain, good soldiers follow orders. All right, let's smash stuff. Yeah, but yeah. Yeah, but the Raptors still have their threat levels. I don't know why people say that this series defanged the Raptors for them, but people being people. All right.
I guess they were just like upset that they weren't like the main like antagonistic force. Which come on, we already had like 3 movies, a whole bunch of games, even like a janky like 3D polygon one
I
that
love the
was rushed out the door.
I love the whole the Mega Raptor is just a slightly larger Raptor model, and he you don't even have to defeat him. He just kills himself by throwing himself off the volcano, right? In Trespasser.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, we mentioned every dinosaur, but I bet you're going. This is Jurassic Park. You talked about the raptors. You talked about long necks and all that stuff, but you're missing one crucial big factor that even the fans weren't sure because even though she was in all the napkins and all the like toy promotions, none of the advertising ever gave a hint at this big surprise moment. That we have not only we clocked a T Rex in at 30 miles an
It,
hour. T Rex, you say you have a T Rex? Come again?
you have a T-Rex.
And not just any Rex.
Oh, but the surprise is like I'm sure everyone expected that. Oh, of course they're gonna have a T-Rex. It's no surprise. They can't have a Jurassic movie a T-Rex. Even the third one had a T-Rex, but it unceremoniously got its animatronic bitten out, so it got a shorter role. But the surprise is it's not just any T-Rex. It's the T-Rex.
Yeah, and they actually had ILM.
Oh yes, it's your childhood comeback.
ILM actually had to go and pretty much look at the model from '93 and reconstruct it new for this Rex and make it a little older, have her have some battle scars from battling the big one, and they wanted to make you say like yes, even the music does a little bit of the Adventure Island theme to say this ain't just any T Rex, this is Rexy, and even funny is the fact that
Oh, the OG, the one that started it all.
we had a theory that maybe when Ian and Alan gave their testimonies about how Rexy reacted to flares, that they figured that'd be a good way to actually coax the Rex into feeding on the goats. But
And it works out.
but you gotta love how the build up is to that scene because when Gray is saying, because even when they say we're gonna go to the T Rex kingdom and show the feeding, you can see Rexy in the background obscured by the crowds, and they wisely keep Rexy out of frame so that when she actually shows up, it's like the big hell yeah moment you want it to be. Because I love that when Gray.
Ian says not. Ian said nothing makes me cry harder with joy than when Rexy gets to roar triumphantly.
Yes, I'm with you there. But yeah, so what I remember is that um, this was pre Avengers Endgame, so the cheers weren't as big. But I do remember when Gray said we need more teeth, and Claire realizes where she goes. She has open paddock 9, and she gets the flare to realize, oh shit, is she gonna bring out what I think she is?
Wait,
Because even the trailer has that one shot of her holding the flare, looking nervous, and they don't say what she's looking at. But when we figured Flare and Paddock, we realized, oh wait, and they have this great moment out of shadow where you see like this lumbering shape with golden eyes just starting to leer out, and you realize, oh, it's a T Rex, and it is such a great moment. And then Claire starts booking it in that controversial running with her heel scene, but it does lead to the most triumphant moment when she throws the flare right at Indominus, and Rexy just blows through a Spinosaurus skeleton, probably as an FU to Jurassic Park 3. But
oh well. As much as I love the Spinosaurus, that like 20-second fight scene was a little bit ass.
but you gotta love how the music treats it as a heroic thing when she comes through, but Clara looks like I did it, and Owen has a look on his face of like, what the hell did you just do? He looks more like, oh man, you gotta be kidding me! You let the T Rex out. That's the look on his face he has when he sees Rexy come out.
But yeah, Rexy does have a good bout against the Indominus, but then, oh boy, I'm sure a lot of audiences when they were watching it, they were starting to like clench their buttocks in their seats. They're like, "Oh God, no! Don't tell me I'm gonna see this again. Don't tell me I'm gonna literally have to sit here and see my own childhood dinosaur bite the big one, just like Buck did in the last movie."
Yeah, the bull. Yeah.
But then out, but then out comes out of nowhere comes Best Girl, like just like shaken off from being tossed aside and literally jumps into the action. And literally, I think that entire scene solidified why I just loved Blue from the get go, and why I always get excited when she was gonna be showing up in the next movies or in any material really. Like, oh my God, you cannot understand how excited and so full of glee I was whenever I was at the live tour show and got to see Blue in action doing what she does best.
Oh yeah, and like I said though, it's so great moment because Rexy at first does do a decent bout against Indominus, but when she knocks it down, when we realize little arms versus big arms, like oh great, it really is Spinosaurus, and the music even is building up to a way where you think, oh crap, this, and she makes that one noise that the T Rex made when they knocked the trailer over. It sounds kind of like a falling elevator noise. That's the best way I could describe the growing metal noise. And you think, oh, she's actually hurt. And like, what's funny is that even though she's being thrown around, her teeth are still a threat. Where she can almost eat our heroes because Indominus will grab her and shove her into a building where our heroes are nearby, and they almost get chopped by Rexy's jaws. It's like it keeps upping the tension and upping the tension.
But then as Blue enters, it throws up the Indominus enough for T Rex to come back for the second breath, and it's I know a lot of people don't like having to see CGI take over for practical, but nobody does CGI effects better than Jurassic Park dinosaurs.
ILM.
This like this has been in effect since day one back in '93. Let's
And oh my gosh, like I said though, you see them go through buildings. They tear apart Amber. Like it's as much a Godzilla battle as Godzilla 2014's fight. And to the point where you almost feel kind of bad for the Indominus getting ganged up on like that because she's like getting rhubarb stuck to her neck. Rexy's biting her, and every time she's about to go for Rexy, Blue will distract her enough for Rexy to come in for another chomp. And I kind of make that joke of like Rexy as Gimli saying, "Huh, I never thought I'd be fighting side by side by a raptor."
how about beside a friend?
Aye, that I can do. Oh god, I saw a hilarious meme. Sidetrack. I'll show it to you after the podcast. I don't want to put too much deviations, but it was a funny meme that had the had the Gimli. It's better to show you the picture. I'll show you it after. But oh man, like I said though, what's funny is when
Oh, is it about the Dizzy going against the Mid Journey?
yeah.
I think I might have seen that one.
When he says, I never thought I'd fight side by side, but
There's,
this,
there's,
and then she goes,
we're
"How?"
actually gonna make live action Aristocats.
Gimli, Jesus
Jesus
fucking Christ.
Although I'm not entirely saying no to a Aristocats movie, but discussion
Duchess.
for another time.
But yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, like I said though, they do treat it like I remember our audience actually did a big woo when Rexy walked out of the shadows, and even bigger woo. Yeah, I was with them when she burst through the skeleton with that roar and everything, and it wasn't quite No Way Home or Endgame levels of cheer. I think we only started really seeing that after Avengers. That not I remember, but it was still a big reaction. It was the big crowd FEM moment because we were pretty much into it. But once that moment happened where she burst through, it was like yeah, and then we go oh shit when she's almost getting killed by the Indominus, and then that little oh the little turtle borking sound is what tells us Blue's not out. Basically, I didn't hear no bell, and she just gets up there. So
And yeah, I argue it's like I don't feel a speck of sorrow for Indominus getting tag team this way because let's remember she let those poor Stegosaurus is high and dry in that field.
All the countless people she's eaten. And
Mm-hmm.
killing Blue's siblings. Uh,
Uh,
but yeah, the like I said though, what's funny is the Indominus gets pushed back towards an enclosure, looking pretty pissed off, getting ready to go after Rexy and Blue for another bout. When out of nowhere, the Mosasaur comes out and takes her by the neck and just drags her, kicking and screaming, into the lagoon.
yeah, Moira really came in and like, "Yeah, if you're taking this, I'm hungry."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm not supposed to die like this.
What's funny is that you said you had you saw Indominus to keep the I name. Saw her as a Ingrid. What's funny is behind the scenes, the guy who had the maquette head for lighting said he nicknamed that one Darcy, which I think that kind of matches as well.
Well, who am I to argue with the guy that helped make the dinosaur?
I don't know, but
Not only just make the dinosaur, a fully original dinosaur, even so.
yeah, but yeah, like I said though, Ingrid, yeah, like I said, what's funny is even though the Indominus was killed in that moment, uh, actually, I think in Camp Cretaceous, even though we don't actually see it, the kids who stumble across the remains in the tank, they're like, "Ooh, what happened here?" And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so what's funny is I like how Rexy looks at Blue and Blue's like, "Oh crap, am I in trouble now?" And Rexy, "I'm too old for this shit walk going on."
Plus, it's like everybody gets one. I guess that's what she was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and this might be the story of the kitchen people has like, oh my god, they flanderized the T-Rex. Like, guys, you know she eats humans in the next few movies, right?
Well, maybe that's the problem. She only eats the bad guys to recreate that iconic Rex roar at the end. So I guess people say that's what they're talking about. But like she becomes less of an animal, more of a superhero, like a Luke Skywalker coming in at the last minute to stare at the camera solemnly, like, "Oh no, you're getting me back into this shit again, are you?" uh,
Maybe things will change around when we get Rebirth. So there, you get your like antagonistic T-Rex
yeah,
again.
he's looking scary from what I'm seeing. The act legit, like, oh, like you're going, ooh, ooh, like I do not want to be in between like any place, a rock and a hard place in his teeth. But like I said though,
And the fact that T-Rexes apparently can swim now and say, oh, okay, so they can't be safe on land or on water.
mm-hmm, yeah. All right, so Dominus is dead. Evacuation complete. Blue is on her own on the island. I think Owen does say, yeah, it can't work out this way, so he kind of lets Blue go at that point. And poor Laurie ends up shutting down the command center, saying, "Well, that was the end of a hell of a run, but he still has a dinosaur to remember everything by." And we got happy family reunions. Gray and Zach's parents like giving the biggest embraces ever. Claire's gonna team up, but I swear, every time in theaters when I watch this movie, I'd be holding it together just fine. But when it gets to that Michael Giacchino score swelling, going back to the island, and then you see Rexy on top of the mountain decide to do her triumphant San Diego roar using the exact same roar the Buck used for some reason, it still does send me into that's I get emotional for some reason when she roars in triumph at the this desecrated park.
Yeah, give me a moment. I just need a hand of tissue to my bro here.
But yeah, but yeah, like I said,
But speaking of, yeah, so it turns out you expect a big nostalgia trip like that with bringing back original Rexy or like BD Wong. You expect like, are we gonna bring John Williams back? It's like, well, no, he's kind of busy with the other big movie series, the Star Wars one. So, but in fairness, we do get Michael Giacchino, who is uh, actually a very familiar face with the Jurassic series, as he was attached to the Lost World Jurassic Park PS1 and Sega Saturn video game, and to his composition was so impressive that Steven Spielberg literally said like, "Hey, I'm gonna actually give you like an actual orchestral to play this music off of," and yeah, Giacchino really pulled it out of the park. And as I forget who it was, Ian or Swack said that they brought up some cues from the Lost World video game, which to be fair, Michael Giacchino of all people would be cheeky enough to kind of reprise like old music that they worked on for like a video game to be a big uh movie inclusion.
Well, yeah, like it's funny. He got his start doing the Lost World, Jurassic Park, and like I said, it came full circle with him actually doing the music. And what's funny is he does know when to use the Williams themes, but he doesn't overuse them. I think some people joke that Don Davis probably really did use that island theme a little too much for every cue. But
For the third movie.
yeah, because every other thing was that do 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 do. Even a menacing version of it, bam 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 bam, during like the Spinosaurus scenes and everything. Whereas Giacchino uses them sparingly, but he has his own like new theme, like that little doo 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 doo, la da da dum, that whole thing. But it does have hints of the. Oh, now here's one thing that reminds me that he does use the Williams cues in full force. Like he does use the ask her every time I was watching this thing. Every time those first four notes of the Jurassic Park uh, Brachiosaur theme starts, I keep saying, "Man, this always gets me." It happened twice in the movie, and she said, "You already said that already." Because oh man, in this
And it shows how Michael understands the to hold back to I'm just gonna use the example. The worst example of trying to reuse a theme for the wrong moments in time would be like the Rob Zombie Halloween, where they use the Halloween theme for like literally the wrong moments you should be putting it in. But it's like, well, it's a Halloween theme. You have to have a Halloween theme somewhere. Let's pick a scene. I'll just put my finger
when
right
he's
here.
running
Let's
through
put it
the
right here.
when
It's
he's
like,
running through a forest. He's not even like masked or nothing at that point, but he's just going to go ahead and deal with the cat or whatever. Whereas versus the David Gordon Green Halloween movie, 2018, where they found ways to put in the classic themes where it would like punch the hardest, like when Michael goes to his killing spree, going through the unlocked doors. I mean, it's like Godzilla and James Bond have iconic themes, but the ones who write for them usually know when to stick in the motif at the right time. And Michael's also in that field. But one thing that did get on my goat that you remember this, there was complaints that Michael used the full majestic Jurassic Park theme when you see the Brackies for when you're just seeing a bunch of sterile empty buildings with people in it. I'm going, uh, the wonder isn't in the dinosaur this time. The wonder is in the fact that John Hammond's dream has finally been achieved of an open running Jurassic Park or world, and that's what the music is symbolizing in that moment. But people say, "Oh, they're using the."
exactly. It's like
But I heard people, "Oh, they're using it in the wrong place. They're just showing us, you know, is the wonder here the corporate stuff, the buildings and tourism? Like, it's the dream come to. That was the. Maybe if they use the island journey theme, it would probably not be as. It'd make more sense to them, because I think for people the brachiosaur theme is very intimate. But I'll always laugh at it here when I hear it. It's a
it,
dinosaur. Holy fucking shit! Jesus Christ! What the hell?
but yeah, the music works in that because I feel like if you were going to make like a sequel to a Jurassic Park movie, you need to do something different. And what's different than just going back to like a island that fell into shambles over and over again? Was well, why not just have it where they decide like, well, what if the park actually worked out? What if we have an island theme park that has dinosaurs and rides in it, and people are immersed in it like they're at a Disney World or a Universal theme park?
Also, Michael wrote a lot of
And that's interesting.
Michael also wrote a lot of in-universe music. Like when they go to the attractions, there's like this ride for the Innovation Center. It goes like burp, 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 like full of pomp and circumstances. It makes me think of the marches that Hammond said when he mentioned the cartoony score. He says this score is only temporary. There'll be great marches, boom, 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 boom. There are marches that haven't even been written yet. So I like to think that some of the pomp and circumstance music you hear in universe is what Hammond had in mind, which you hear like with the Gyrosphere ride, you hear it with the Innovation Center. So Michael wrote a lot of like various musics, not only from the point of view of like for the movie, but point of view of like in universe, what would a theme park use to attract people in a waiting line queue. Although I did love that he stuck in
And
the Raptor queue when Echo and Delta are chasing the veterinarian van. There's a part where you actually do straight up hear the bum 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 from the Raptor level of the Giacchino theme, and at first I
mhm.
missed it watching it, but as I was hearing it, I realized in the theater I started to go to Sis and say because we played the hell out of those Raptor levels, and we went oh shit it's the Raptor theme, and I kind of wish he reused this. Oh, he did make this amazing theme that I adore. That is the engine Hoskin theme, basically. It's like this theme that plays to delineate the military operation. It's very bombastic. It has these military drums and low horns. You hear it specifically when engine takes over the facility after Barry notices something's up, and then you hear it most of the time in the background whenever Hoskins is going to a speech about war or whatever. And they go like la da 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 do 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 like that kind of thing. It's I really like that theme for some reason.
I can understand why you didn't bring up the Tyrannosaurus theme from the game for when the Rex showed up. Once we already have the Jurassic Park theme. If you're gonna bring back the OG Rexy, of course you're gonna have like the original score accompanying her because it's supposed to signify yes, this is the actual one. And the other, the music was intended for a T-Rex that was just going bombastic, eating everything in sight.
Although I will say though that that there was one thing that is very effective in this movie. Every Jurassic movie has a what they call the carnivore theme, the predator theme. Uh, with one, it became known as the Raptor theme, but anytime there was anything with menacing dinosaurs, it was that dun dun bum bum that thing. And then in now Jurassic The Lost World didn't have one oddly enough. It actually had more of the drums were the menacing bit. But in three, you had the Spinosaur with the theme that was a right. It's like a reverse of the Predator theme from one. It goes bum 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 bum. Usually you hear it with in association with the Spinosaur. Now they gave us a creepy one that you hear from the very beginning of the movie. It's the Indominus theme as far as concerned. It goes like la da la da dum. Like that's how you know it's the Predator. The Indominus is nearby. It's almost like the Jaws theme for her when you think about it.
And so yeah, it's so glad that Steven decided to have Giacchino be brought into the music. I'm sure he was recalled back to when Giacchino got the experience of doing the video game, which Steven was working very closely on, and he was impressed so much. He was like, you know what? I'm just actually gonna give you like this huge orchestra accompaniment here. So you go hand with these guys here, and as ever do his music, and obviously, I'm sure in his heart of hearts he wanted to have Williams back, but as Williams was busy doing Force Awakens, he was like, actually, there is one other guy I could definitely trust that I know would definitely do a good Jurassic Park movie theme.
And I will
I'm
say,
gonna call him up. He's an old friend of mine, Giacchino.
yeah, Giacchino does really good with the Williams style. If you ask me, in fact, I'm excited for his Fantastic Four score. Bum, ba bum, bum,
Oh
bum,
yeah, he's gonna
bum.
do that. But
I mean, by the way, every time we
the
see a Marvel movie, sorry.
as an aside, I as an aside, I think he definitely has a future for doing directorial work, since that Werewolf by Night special for Marvel was like really, really high quality stuff.
And hell, his
And
son.
of all the things people complain about Marvel, say, oh, they're falling off so much, and I was just like, do you guys not remember that one that Michael Giacchino did for Halloween?
I, don't know,
It's like, oh yeah, that was actually very good.
I do hope he comes back for Incredibles 3, which that movie also turns 20 in
I
November. Incredibles 1. Stop.
I really hope so too. I think they can't really do an Incredible 3 without his music.
Because
So
I find funny that originally John Barry was supposed to be the composer for Incredibles, and they even used his James Bond song in the trailer. And due to scheduling conflicts, or it wasn't different enough from his work, he decided to say, you know what, I'm backing off. But Giacchino still brought that John Barry flavor. It's almost a James Bond score in the way he made the music for that. So that's a good little side thing. All right, so now
and John says from his favorite Medal of Honor games, which yeah,
anyway, so
did those too.
now we come to the fact that the movie comes out. I mean, people were saying this movie's probably gonna suck. They even made parodies of like raptors on motorcycles. Like they thought, oh, this thing's not gonna land. And holy shit, word of mouth spread. This thing is huge. It devoured the box office more so than any other movie that year. It even outboxed the Avengers. In fact, I remember the magazines did this cute little trade where the movie that dethrones like the top grossing movie in the newspaper will have a little political cartoon. So the cartoon showed like the Avengers back to back looking up at Rexy, just roaring in triumph. That Rexy was the one that ended up getting the top spot, and eventually I think it even overtook Avatar for a time for domestic score until Force Awakens came out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
But even then, for pretty much for the but for most of that year, people said that that movie was literally the big blockbuster, the big event that actually raked in money. And isn't it just like a good feeling to know that like a movie that had such that people thought it was just dead in the waters. Like it's like, oh, okay, so you just ran out of ideas now. You're just coming back. You just want to capitalize on nostalgia. You just want to bring more dinosaurs, even though you're not going to have any practical stuff. You, you're to the point where you're even making up dinosaurs now. That's great.
huh?
You don't even see any T-Rexes in the marketing. It's like, okay,
Why does that
but
sound familiar?
yep, the evidence says a lie now.
But yeah, so yeah, and people saying probably the best Jurassic Park since Jurassic Park, because as we know, Jurassic Park 3 had middling reviews, and there were people who were up and down on The Lost World. So to hear one universally acclaimed as such, I mean, there are people that made fun of their writing, made fun of some of the people are just vessels for the story, that kind of stuff. But most people were like enamored with this movie. Yeah, there's some that say that some of the decisions were stupid in the universe, like why did they leave this and that going on, that kind of thing. God, I think this was the sort of movie that did spawn those cinema sins guys to like find stuff. But
Really now.
one of them, it's probably one of them.
Well, I definitely remember. I definitely remember it more. It just caused the critic to finally just say, you know what? Fuck my wait a year rules. This movie pissed me off that I just want to really just mock it without even using clips really. That's right. I'm literally just going to do a shoot. What's that term again? It's where they recreate scenes, but it's like bootstring budget.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah. There's a term
it.
for it, yeah, because I remember because there was so many videos that made fun of the Jurassic World trailer, but done in that tweeted. I think no, not tweeted.
Tweeted, yes.
Yeah,
No, that's right. It's they sweet. It really caused the nostalgia critic to do more sweeting thing because he jokes like, well, the copyrights are gonna be at my beck and tail because it's NBC Universal. Of course they're gonna do that.
look what they did
And
to
so
us.
we learned our lesson from our time. Yikes. So and
God, I haven't thought of tweeted in
I
a
don't know
long time. It's been years. fact, I think I could actually show it without causing too much issue.
No, 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 no. No, let's not tempt fate,
Well,
for God's
I'll
sakes,
mute it.
please.
I'll mute it. Besides, who's going to copyright it? Universal? They didn't make this. This was done by people with a passion. Mhm. Just this should show you. I mean, it's muted, but this should show you examples of how creative people got. Like, look, you got people in trash bags, uh, being raptors, and you got this guy doing his best. We gotta talk about how the movie was so well received that that sight of Chris Pratt doing the arms out theme became a meme that even actual trained zookeepers were like posing that famous from the back pose. But yeah,
I'll be fair. The I'm viewing our stream here through my phone here, but the phone's like a little bit behind, so obviously I can't see anything you're showing right now yet.
I
So
stopped it. I stopped it. But yeah, I just wanted to say, yeah, it's. I remember that Jurassic.
okay,
I mean, there was a lot of movies that were sweeted, but I remember the Jurassic ones made me laugh so hard every time because they were just people were getting inventive about how they were trying to recreate those moments. The last funniest sweeted trailer I ever saw was for Matrix Resurrections, and that was when I was still looking for them, and that one made me laugh so hard. Like Matrix Resurrections on a budget. But yeah, yeah. So, you're right. This movie was king of the box office for a long time, and not only did this kickstart a revival for the franchise, but it also pretty much brought back other concepts like Jurassic Park builders were made again, games, merch. Like it just kickstarted the whole thing alive once more.
they they would eventually make a live tour show, which I actually did get to watch, and
Lucky.
that one had. I'm sure one day you'll get your chance, but it does have another awesome demo that I feel like I want to humanize. I forgot what breed it is. I wish I had my uh guidebook with me. It's buried in the basement somewhere. But they introduced a dinosaur that's named Genie, which they kind of joke is like short for genius. Intellect.
Is it a
And
Trudon?
she and Blue are I think it is.
Let me see. Is it the Jurassic World
So
Live Tour?
yeah, but Genie and Blue actually do have a little camaraderie, so it's kind of
Yes,
cool that
she's a
series
Trudon.
have uh like a respect respect. She was kind of like one of the highlights that I wish I had merchandise of her, but I just wanted a baby blue plushie of her.
Well, yeah, but Blue became a
But
star. Like,
they had a live show, and oh my god, the moment when the T-Rex showed up and seeing it walk across the stage, even though it had like the little pattern underneath to keep the whole thing like balanced and hold all the weight, but the leg still works, so it was still walking. We still use our imagination. It's part of the spectacle. It still had the size, and we were able to see like a T-Rex in that size in person. It was like one of the awesome things.
one day they'll be able to make a
And even the
fully.
Indominus showed up for like
Go on.
the Indominus showed up for like a quick. The Indominus showed up technically like only for half of it. Well, I mean, like they only showed half of the Indominus poking out when it's like causing the disaster at the beginning of the show. So the show takes place half during the initial movie, and then also like a few years after it happens. Not the volcano doesn't happen yet. I think it's just like uh only like small hints of it might be starting. I think maybe like 2 years after, whereas Fallen Kingdom is 3 years after.
Oh my goodness, I'm seeing the.
I believe timeline-wise, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm not gonna put none of this on screen because I'm afraid about this one possibly getting claimed. But I'm seeing some camera footage of people who are live at the show, and Genie's quite large. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's a fun little performance. It's like a theatrical play, and oh look, they got a Triceratops and Velociraptors, and other than the legs sticking out, they look convincing. I think from afar you can definitely see why you can see that they might be real. And then let's just
I feel
go.
like the live tour show is yeah, the live tour show is kind of like a spiritual successor to what's it called? Nick Game Apologist covered it when he was doing like the
What
weird Japan exclusive games.
was it? Walking with Dinosaurs or
The Expedition. No, it was not Walking the Dinosaurs. It was literally just Jurassic Park. Um, Expedition. Shit, what is it called? Oh my god, I'm blanking so badly here.
oh man, they even have swooping pteranodons. Wow, this show really went all out. I'm just kind of skimming through it, just looking at it, and then they have jeeps on the stage, and holy moly! No, they save her for the big finale, but wow, she's
Uh huh.
I'm
I
certain
told you she was big.
that big. Turning Red reference, but oh my gosh, like he says, it is beautiful. I'm sure kid me would have been driven out of my mind. Just, huh? One of the actresses in this stage production is kind of like a version of Dr. Bennett that Scarlett Johansson's going to be playing. Even the uniform outfit and everything. Yeah, she has a big popsicle stick underneath her, but yeah, that's Rexy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying one of these days they'll probably make a fully contained, able to walk Tyrannosaur. But until then, that'll have to do. All right, so
It was still a cool experience. We pretty much had a front row experience, like dead center. So we weren't in the nosebleeds, that's for sure. We were kind of really close to the stage. We could actually see everything,
like I said,
and we were able to like understand the size and all that. Now not only the live tour, also we had a cartoon spin-off, which funny enough, again, bring up Game Apologists. Like he brings up like how certain games kind of like it had an animated spin-off kind of vibe, and it's like I'm sure at one point like an animated series spin-off for Jurassic Park was discussed, and you showcased like images of Sam Neill and Tim with like different dinosaurs, and boy, what that alternate timeline, what I'm sure you would have wished you could have had
yeah,
that
it
experience.
was called Return to Jurassic Park.
But yeah, we get the Camp Cretaceous, and we get oh my goodness, the video games mostly either the Lego Jurassic World and of course Jurassic World Evolution.
That game is turning 10 because it came out the same year. Jurassic World, Lego Jurassic World, which had some of the best Jurassic Park gameplay. The only thing that does tick me off a little about the game is they had to censor the deaths, given that in
Yeah.
in
It,
Lego's
it's
in Lego Star Wars, if a character died, they just straight up showed them like expiring on screen.
I don't know why they just it's like it's and they always keep having like guns being replaced with bananas, which I guess is supposed to be a joke at Steven Spielberg's expense for replacing guns with walkie-talkies in the ET, but come on.
Like the Eddie scene, that was begging to be done in Lego.
And even then, it always leads you to like, okay, so what? They just get scared off and go off camera, and what? They don't help their friends like out of their jams. It's like, yeah, screw this, man. I'm out of here.
But yeah, but it still has some of the best gameplay where you get to play dinosaur and favorite characters. So it was Jurassic World. Lego Jurassic World is one of my favorite games.
And not only that, but it also helps do the fix one of the unforgivable things. They made the T-Rex versus Spider fight last longer than 20 goddamn seconds.
But yeah, so yeah, you could argue this was a Jurassic Renaissance instead of a Jurassic World. Uh, and like I mentioned, every time I seen it, there's some people that say that they see it now and they can see how it led to the current downfall. So some of them say it loses potency for them. But for me, it's always maintained the same level of hype for me. Like, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, before that, I feel like we should probably talk about the only low point of this movie. It's the fucking Hasbro toys.
Oh yeah,
Oh my god.
Yes,
What did you do to my Blue? Why does she look like a basic raptor?
although I think the worst one,
Like that's not even a blue streak. That's like a brown smear.
you gotta argue the worst one by far was their bite and chomp T Rex.
Oh my god, I have to see this for myself.
Wait, you've never seen? I'm gonna send you a picture right now. Actually, I actually own this thing. I don't have it no more, but
I wouldn't blame you if you gave it up. You probably looked at it as like, and then looked at your Mattel one. It's like, yeah, I know better. I'm gonna save space with an actual good one.
although man, the new one that's coming out for Rebirth.
Dude, I saw the big Ultimate T-Rex one being sold at our store, and I was like, holy shit, that thing is evoking so much Ultimate Godzilla '98. I mean, sure, I'm probably sure it's not the first time. I recall Dominion also had like a action figure eatable T-Rex, but I don't know why the coloring of this one and the packaging you do it made it look like it's much bigger or something. It looks like it has weight and heft.
So you're talking about the colossal one, like the really big one, right?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. They call it the Ultimate T-Rex.
I know they have another one that's called Lab Lockdown. That's a little smaller, but he still has a lot of detail for it in him. All right, I'm pulling it up. Like the thing that this thing was pretty.
This I gotta see.
It's known for its weird ass jaw and very skimpy paint and visible screw holes. Mattel managed to get around that, thankfully, but there it is.
Oh my god! What did you do to my dinosaur? Oh
I mean, it looks
god! That's hideous!
like if it was a small McDonald's toy that could fit in the palm of your hand, they could get away with that. But this was something they were charging 20 some bucks for, if that.
Like, the legs don't even look like they hinge. Like, at least the Mattel ones, they could actually have a little bit of, like, knee joints, but that one's, like,
Yeah,
Hasbro. What the fuck were you doing?
I think
What smoke were you on?
I think that was the one that made them say like, yeah, we're stopping the dinosaur business, and they let go of the license. I mean, the poor thing, to even stand it up without a human hand, you have to have it stand on its tail like this.
That's disrespectful. I don't know why, but the way the proportions, they make the arms, okay, I know the arms are T-Rex are notoriously tiny, but these things look like little, little sock puppets.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think I can actually pull it up on the stream screen without needing to do the whole other thing I just did. So,
Oh dear, we're gonna have to suggest subject our audience to this. Well, brace yourselves, everyone. This is, ugh.
because she didn't believe me when I said this thing was wonky, but let me see.
Oh my god.
Okay, put that there and put this here. There you are. Okay, here it is. Right on screen, right there. Boom. Yeah. Oops. Okay, got that. Yeah, this thing is just, the proportions are off. The head is wrong. The jaw is slack. The teeth are nubby. Paint job is non-existent. It it could have been a good T-Rex figure, but corners were cut.
Yeah, I guess Chef Jonesy. Yeah, this is the blue action figure that I had. I still have for reasons that I'll never understand.
It's your girl. It's
Loading
blue.
a bit. I know, but why you do this to my girl? I feel like I'm gonna cry cry looking at this.
I
Oh
remember.
God, look at it.
I think I had that one.
Ugh. Yeah, I'm sure you would, but man,
You know,
what the hell?
you know what's messed up though is that they made those guys, and they were even missing their sickle claws. They had 2 feet, 2 toes, but no sickle claw. Hasbro. WTF? Oh, but you gotta admit, we did get a kick.
Ugh.
We did get a kick-ass Lego Jurassic World like sets out of it. I still have a few. In fact, right here I have the veterinarian escape one that includes a very green blue for some reason with Delta and Lego Claire Owen and some poor ACU schmuck on the top.
You still have it in the box. You didn't even build it?
So I did. I just put it back into the box for storage purposes, like when I had to like put it aside. But
Oh.
I built it a couple of times actually.
But of course, leave it to Lego to do it better than fucking Hasbro.
Yeah, but don't forget.
And
But don't forget. They did give us Mattel did give us the best neurotic T-Rex who's nervous about being scary. Because I love that line of "I'm from Play School and I'm from Mattel." Well, actually, I'm not really from Mattel. I'm from a company that was bought out in a big leverage buyout. Like,
Ian, that's like when there was this one Godzilla statue at Coronado Mall that didn't have dorsal spines or a tail. That's a. How can you make a Godzilla statue without a tail? That sounds messed up.
maybe it's like the Shogun Godzilla. But
Well, yeah. So, what do you feel about this movie
I still think it holds up pretty
overall?
well. If you know, it's 10 years later. It's still fun. I mean, it definitely started the trend of the huge nostalgic throwback type movies. Wait, didn't we also get Super 8 this year? That year? By J.J. Abrams?
I think. Did we?
I'm gonna look it
I
up
don't
real
know.
quick.
But
Oh, that was 2011. 2011.
yeah, that's right. Shogun's Godzilla still had a tail though.
Oh.
Yeah. But I distinctly remember going to see the movie with my dad, and it would be the second time I see a Jurassic movie with him in the theater because we did see the Jurassic Park 3D re-release, and he notes how like when he saw the Jurassic Park movie, remember getting like chills and like thrills and all that, and he felt like he got a pretty good feel about it with the Jurassic World as well, when especially with the Indominus being such a huge threat, and then he definitely got excited when Blue did her big hero moment with the T-Rex against it, and yeah, it definitely led to me having this eventual love and want to. So yeah, you might notice the thumbnail. I have her drawn humanized that Josie was able to help color her, and the reason why I think it mostly came about when Fallen Kingdom was a thing, and it really solidified how different Blue was to in comparison to the other dinosaurs, where she turned out to be an empathetic creature. And then my mind just kind of rushed with ideas like, okay, well, what if she was like, how would she be able to handle the death of her sisters? Like, she would have to. I think it was this concept alone where I imagined her having to bury whatever she could find of her sisters, and she forcefully imagine like the Logan burial scene with Charles Xavier, where she has her freak out moment, realizing that like it just really hits her that she's now just kind of alone on her own at the island.
Has water by
And
it.
then then the idea kind of spun off a little bit, even more when Dominion was coming around, where she was gonna have uh,
Beta.
a little plus one. yeah, a little plus one. And I say like, you know what? No, I'm gonna actually like do this. It's probably gonna be weird, hard to explain, but damn it, I just feel in my heart that I feel like Blue definitely feels like she is like kind of like the middle ground between like the freaks of nature, dinosaurs acting like animals, but also being smart enough. Like as Sam Neill once said, that velociraptors were smart enough that they could have actually taken the Earth as the dominant species of life, and Blue showcases that the even like in a what if scenario of raptors being like the dominant species, like there is even hope that even raptors could actually have been empathetic and actually had thoughts and desires and wants and needs and all that. And I know people like point to her as like the start of flanderization of velociraptors being once scary, badass, cool, cutthroat killers to now being like heroic dinosaurs. But I just shrug it off and like cup hard because that's why she's best girl.
Oh yes, and like I said though, yeah, like I said, it was one of my favorite movies of that year until Star Wars came out, and like I said, I bought that collection that includes it, and I still remember the hype that came up going to it. It was just, again, it was you just had to have been there, and you're kind of getting a little bit of that again with Rebirth. So here we are, 10 years down the
Yeah,
line.
I'm yeah, I'm seeing a lot of reactions of latest trailers because like the initial trailer came out, it's like, okay, I can see all the red flags here. This is not gonna be this isn't gonna be just another grasp at trying to get the Jurassic Park name and all that. But then more trailers showed up and they showed things that people weren't expecting to see. It's like, oh, okay, so they're making the T-Rex scary. Oh, okay, they're gonna bring back Spinosaurus. Oh, okay, Mosasaurus is actually gonna be a direct threat now.
Yeah, because the
And
Mosasaur only had her appearances in the three moments that we mentioned earlier.
and then the beginning of the next movie and the just kind of a throwaway scene and with the surfer dude.
Yeah, so it says agreed. I remember there was a long line for showing that wasn't going to happen for another 30 minutes. So yeah, you just had to have been there for this. Like not even Godzilla 2014 matched this hype. I think the only thing that rivaled Jurassic World's hype was The Force Awakens.
Hmm.
May the Schwarsh be with
and
you.
and definitely to really seal it. I think the thing that I loved the most was actually seeing the park actually get its chance. Like, yes, it would end up being closed, and no one would ever want to do another Jurassic Park, well, in universe, a theme park like Jurassic Park ever again. But it still worked for a time, and like a lot, I'm sure a lot of families might be like in relief that it's over, but there be some I can imagine where like, oh man, I remember having so much good like experience having a theme park, and the staff were all friendly, and I remember the petting zoo, the seeing my little one get a chance to get up close to the person and a dinosaur. It's like for years and years with the original Jurassic Park trilogy, you always had this like inkling of like the what if, like maybe in some twisted, deranged, alternate, diverted timeline, maybe we could have actually seen a theme park that John Hammond saw, and we would have actually seen all the stuff that we saw in the boardroom dinner where they were showcasing all the images flashing and all of that. And even though we did get we experienced a little bit of that with the real theme park in the Universal. It was still even then like just a small snippet, and even then things still did go wrong for the show, obviously. But this movie finally gave the answers. Like, it, this is how Jurassic Park would have succeeded, and it def John Hammond was right.
And how do you feel about the fact that the Jurassic World branding has pretty much taken over the image of the Jurassic Park franchise?
Well, I can understand people being upset about it, but to be fair, the Jurassic Park name is like kind of the prototype. It's still, I think it kind of helps let the first movie stand on its own because there's still people that feel like the movies they feel like the movies like went off the rails so bad that they still consider the first movie the only Jurassic Park they care for. So for having that movie still just be called the Jurassic Park, whereas the franchise is called Jurassic World, you could understand there's like a level of respect for that movie. So
With the
it's
exception of
almost like
Jurassic
they
Park
don't want
Survival.
to,
You got a point. The Jurassic Park game will be called Jurassic Park Survival. True.
which if it comes out soon, which it better, like I still flip my head a little bit whenever they just announced like, oh, we have a new Jurassic World Evolution. They're like, what? What about people? You are you just leaving that high and dry? Like,
Don't
of
forget.
course I learned it's like, no, they did update that they're still working on it. It's just,
And there's going to be
but
babies
to
in 3.
okay, I'm gonna be excited for that. But to answer your question, no, I treat it like it's so it with the Universal parks they overall call the parks in Florida the Universal Orlando Resort, but the main Universal Studios park is called Universal Studios Florida, and that's how I see it. It's a broad blanket term like the Walt Disney World resorts and all that.
Yeah, no problem.
So whereas like Disneyland initially started out in California, just like Jurassic Park initially started off
San
for its
Diego.
prototype phase. Yeah, in San Diego, huh? Oh, why did I go to Florida, Orlando? But with when Jurassic the Jurassic Park franchise got bigger and got larger in a broad spectrum, where you now have video games and uh, cartoons and live action shows. That's where that's the Disney World Resort thing where you have like you have your Epcot, you have your Hollywood Studios, you have your Animal Kingdom and your Magic Kingdom. It's a big broad spectrum, and to be fair, what it does kind of have an overall arching message that like once the dinosaurs appeared, the world was never the same ever again.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so like, this is leading towards a whole new trilogy. So, and it was a great start. I don't think they expected to make a sequel, but since it made so much money, a sequel is inevitable. And I think we can argue that the mileage may vary about how well they did it, but I this is definitely one of my favorite sequels up there, along with World and the rest. Like I like all the Jurassic Park films, but World is definitely a high mark for all the personal reasons we explained earlier.
And that's exactly why we're very happy that even after 10 years, it still got us to feel the good old days before things turned to shit. World went to chaos. Oh, that's a wonderful magic world. So that's chaos.
Yeah, we are the Gore. The galaxy is watching. But yeah, so
But
wow, we went on the way longer than I expected to go for Jurassic World. But that's how much we really got a kick out of
that's it.
it.
Mhm. So, but man, I'm just so glad we were able to do this on the actual day.
Yeah, sorry about yesterday. It just
So,
got fell behind, and we figured, well, let's save it for today because it's the actual anniversary. So, happy 10 years to Jurassic World. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so well, we reached the end of tonight's tour. So thank you for joining us in celebrating 10 years of Jurassic World. So come back next time as we face the aftermath of that Jurassic World disaster. Say our fond farewell to Isla Nublar and reach mainland once again in Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom.
And remember, put that in the brochure. Eventually, in one of these blanks, somebody may be eaten.